All right, hitting live.
Me too.
And we should be live, everyone. Thank you for joining. Back on my regular channel, Awake Souls, and we are joined by some guests today. So we're going to go around and do some introductions. We're going to get to know each other, and then we're going to figure out the meat of what we're going to be talking about today. So for our guests that are here, let's start with TJump. I had a conversation with you recently. Would you like to tell us about yourself and why you are here today?
TJump. We're here to talk about flat Earth, I think.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Sensible, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. Yeah, Mr. Sensible. I tend to do flat Earth debunking videos and live streams. An ordinary guy. I'm not a professional scientist or anything, but I got a fairly reasonable all-round knowledge rather than being an absolute specialist in any one field.
That's good. We're gonna be seeing how well-rounded everybody is today. Everybody knows the Limitless Channel. Brother, would you introduce yourself and tell us why you're here today?
Sure. Hey, it's really nice to meet you all. I'm Ron, the creator of the Limitless Channel here on YouTube. I'm super excited to be here tonight. I'm present right now for this discussion in this moment about the reality that we live in. Unfortunately, if you're showing up for the straw man, fake, quote, Freemasonic, New World Order, pressurized pizza dome that's flying in outer space model with its circling, never setting, shrinking sun, traveling over an infinite pond theory, you're not going to hear any of that content. You will need to go to the reality check on Telegram to catch that. But what we would like to attempt to do today is to show you how our realm operates with repeatable, measurable, and investigatable information that you can all test for yourselves. I know that you're all going to be reality deniers. All that I ask...
Sorry to interrupt. I'm having a tech issue. I'm going to have to rejoin 1 second.
Okay.
Do you want me to pause? The information is for him too. But I'll continue on after. It's almost finished. We'll wait till he jumps back in. Hopefully it doesn't mess up the stream.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, Mr. Sensible, why don't we go back to you? You're the guest today, or
unfortunately, Jason? His taking off is bump Mr. Sensible.
You'll have to just fix things on the fly. So what has your content creation been mostly about here on YouTube, Mr. Sensible?
Well, mostly it has been about flat Earth, but I've covered a few other conspiracy theories. Covered a bit about a couple of other subjects which always becomes problematical with YouTube, certain medical procedures perhaps, which I would like to discuss further, but to be honest, that trashes the channel, so we can keep well away from that. So my mainstay has been flat Earth, and I like to tackle it with some gentle humour and some level of science. And I did an experiment that's got quite well known amongst the debunking and the flat Earth community.
Okay. So what was it that got you into supporting heliocentrism and trying to mock or deride flat Earth? What got you started in that?
Nothing got me into heliocentrism because, as far as I'm concerned, that is established fact. And actually, I'll just point out here that the fact of our solar system being heliocentric has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, because potentially the Earth could be flat, but still orbiting the sun. I don't think, personally, I don't have any doubt that we orbit the sun. I actually also don't have any doubt that the Earth is flat, but it's the flatness of Earth versus the sphericity of Earth that I usually like tackling.
Yeah, those are good topics. We've got, so let me just let you know and understand what happened with TJump is we had this conversation. I came in supporting both being a creationist and a plain earther. So I had made a whole bunch of claims, but in that conversation, I wasn't able to screen share. And so I had said a bunch of things that now today we do intend to back up with the footage, and we go through it and analyze it. And like Ronnie said, this is all stuff that we want people to actually be able to go out and test and measure themselves the same way we did.
Yeah. Can I finish? Is TJump back? Are we good? He must have the CIA coming after him. The damn tiny hats are shutting his stream down. TJump's joined with another account. You'll have to boot that other one out, Jason, to keep the cameras fixed correctly. But if he's back, and can you hear me? Because I'll finish my quick statement.
Well, the audio issue I'm having is that the audience can't hear you.
What? You're not having the screen share?
No, I am, but even though I'm screen sharing and I have it selected with,
You know, what you could do is put the link to this Hangout in, have your audience come here, keep that going.
well, that
And
doesn't
then
give
when
me
they
money.
super chat you, we can screen share you and you can read their super chats on screen. That's what we're hoping that you can get some good questions at the end of all this. But I'm still wanting to do the intro.
That would give me no money though. So
What?
just give me a minute. I can just copy it over later. But I do want to go settings, video, audio, outputs.
'Cause I almost had the intro ready to go. Just finished. We established that we won't be talking about the AE pressurized pizza dome model with the infinite pond, never setting, shrinking sun. So I'm pretty sure Mr. Sensible is used to using that one in a debate because you can debunk it 30,000 times. Or should I say 33,000 times? Right? 6 million ways.
Yeah,
that
tell
thing
us
can be
tell us
put
what
to
you
death.
know about Freemasonry and Jesuits and stuff like that, Mr. Sensible. If you get into the the controversial, this is a psyop. This is what do you know about the Freemasons and Jesuits?
With regard to Jesuits, virtually nil. With regard to Freemasons, not a lot more than that, because I don't think it comes into it at all, because my opinions are based on the scientific evidence. What can be shown, what can be tested, what can be measured, what can be repeated, and that's all. I have no preconceptions, or had no preconceptions about something like God, for instance. I just see no evidence for it, and I've seen nothing to indicate that we're being lied to, whether that's by Freemasons, Jesuits, or anybody else.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're going to be pointing out today is the origins of heliocentrism and how it goes directly through Freemasonry and the Jesuits in the Vatican. So we're going to be talking about the actual
Vatican's
original path that the whole topic took, right?
I was going to say, of course, the Vatican has its own, or I assume they still did. They certainly had their own astronomer, and wasn't it through them that the idea of the Big Bang was it? I've forgotten the guy's name.
Yeah, they made up the Big Bang. The Vatican did.
Well,
Jesuit priest, right?
a guy who happened to be that came up with the thought. But since then, it's been all the evidence continues to point towards that. If you can come up with some evidence that shows that cannot be the case, then that theory would have to get thrown out. That's science.
Oh, that's a perfect setup. That's a perfect setup. So when we do get to screen sharing, we're going to start off with debunking heliocentrism. I've got a video that has 6 heliocentric debunks in it, and so if you, like you said, if we can debunk it, we're going to show you that we can. So.
Are we good now, TJump?
I figured it out. It's the Zoom thing.
The Zoom sound settings you have to change. Oh, I should have told you that. Can I finish my opening statement? Tell me as soon as there's sound. I want to finish it, Jason, if that's okay.
Of course.
I believe that should have fixed it. Can you guys talk for a minute?
Yeah, check 1, 2, 3.
I can't hear you
4,
at all.
5, 6.
Can everybody hear
check,
us?
check.
We want to make sure that you
what?
get the super chat questions. We're really looking forward to hearing your side, the people in your chat becoming involved in this side. We're not going to be paying attention to that because we're focusing on the conference call that we're in here. So we wanted to promote getting as many questions as the information that Jason's going to be presenting. I've got some information, but this is mostly to show what Jason had prepared. Do you have my sound?
You sound good, brother.
Yeah, I want to finish the statement, but if you can't get it to work, we're going to have to wait. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on the Awake Souls channel. It's back from the 2-strike deficit, and it's now available for us to use without them taking it, right? Like they took my channel in June, July. They took it down. So, but
and this is the reason, TJump, why we asked you to be early. We could have had this all set up.
We try.
Mr.
We always
Sensible
try to
is
do
here.
this.
This wouldn't have wouldn't have known any difference until I would have gone live.
Just
and the
because
people
it's
in the
Zoom.
audience would have said, yeah, it's just because it's Zoom. It's a Zoom issue. This is why I don't use Zoom ever for any
Can-
reason.
Can they hear us now?
No.
No. So in your Zoom settings, you click the arrow up beside the mic, and then you've got different settings on this, and you need to probably have it the same as your output software that you're putting the stream through.
No, the output software is a screen capture, so the output software should be the desktop. It should just pick up desktop audio. There's no, it doesn't like
Zoom. Maybe Zoom audio. Is there a Zoom choice?
no, like what?
So within the Zoom call, when you click on the arrow, what does it tell you that you're clicked on there?
Which arrow?
Or-
The mic arrow?
Yeah, the mic
Or-
arrow.
The mic. First, you'll have the microphone settings, and then below that, you'll have select a speaker. Now, if we can look at which one you're connected to.
Headphones, Rocket Juke.
Okay, so, and then in your streaming software, the Restream,
Yep.
what is that clicked on? What type of software is that?
Desktop audio. So it just picks up anything that goes to my desktop.
Okay, so in Zoom, what happens if you turn it to your desktop audio instead of your headphones?
Everyone gets muted and I can't hear anything.
Because that's probably the connection right there that you need to have.
What?
So in the Zoom settings, you've got your desktop audio is sourcing to your Zoom headphones.
Well, there isn't like a desktop option. You have headphones, you have the microphone, which would not do anything, has the audio driver, which is the desktop, and it has the TV, which is the desktop, and either of those would be desktop. But,
So the desktop's not sharing it through.
yeah, it's just not sending audio from Zoom to my desktop. Like if I spit, not only do I not, the audio doesn't go to the audience, but it also doesn't come through my speakers, which is weird.
Maybe do another reboot, come back, jump out, come back in, try
Yeah,
again.
that might
And
work.
Tom,
I'll
are
try
you
that.
using Chrome?
No, I have the Zoom app thing downloaded, and I use Microsoft Edge. All the other
Yeah,
ones.
well, I normally use Firefox, but I use Chrome for Zoom because it seems happier.
I could possibly try that.
Yeah, so
I'll
there's we can
restart.
we can test these options here and try to get this up and running for you, but we also might want to contemplate, would you guys be up to just continuing the conversation here and then publishing these videos to your channels for yourselves? Because that's the way the audience will get the best
I don't get any
resolution.
money. Like all I care about is money. So that's the only
So
thing.
I think we should be able to get this fixed. If you do a reboot, and then we got to look into your desktop audio, why it's not picking up the call through Zoom.
Well, I've had this problem with Zoom before. Just Zoom is garbage. That I believe is the fundamental issue. But yeah, I'll restart and see if I can fix it.
You would get
Okay,
the
let's
money
try.
if you premiered it, though, right?
No, live you get super chats are the primary source of revenue.
You know, you give me a stream key, I'll stream it for you.
All this,
I'll help you get that money. I wanted to make sure that I want the questions from your chat. That's the thing. It's not going to be as fun. I came on to participate for that section mostly and a little bit in between. I'm just
All right,
looking
I'll-
forward to that.
I will restart. Give me one.
I might as well just read my intro out and our audience can see it, and maybe I'll reference it later. It says, I know you will be a reality denier. All that I ask is you put aside your pre-programmed indoctrination and allow the evidence to speak for itself today. Oh, and lastly, heliocentrism was created by Kabbalistic mystics to give people a creation to worship instead of the true creator who could be found within your heart. Back to you, Jay. That's my opener.
all right. So my opener is so today is a follow-up conversation to what I had with TJump. Now, I had a technical issue where I wasn't able to screen share during that conversation, and now TJump's having an issue with it. So I get it. Now, this is the opportunity where what we're going to do is we're going to show all the visuals, the proof, the things that you can go test yourself for everybody to see. We're going to test it in many different ways here, and the point of this is showing everybody how local our the sun, the moon, the stars, everything's happening within our local circle of sight. All right, we're not seeing anything beyond anything else that we can see in the world, and we're going to be showing the proof of that. So we're going to be going through the tabs that I prepared in the first conversation with TJump, and I made many claims that I'm going to back up now 13 of them. It's quite possibly the reason why they named this Friday the 13th, because Jason's going to come in and wreck heliocentrism. The main points that I want everybody to come away with is, considering the information I'm sharing, is that the sun, moon, and stars are local to you. They rotate around you on a plane. The other thing that I want people to take away from this is that heliocentrism, geocentrism, all these things were created by the Vatican, and it was actually, they were created so that atheists could exist. So if you exist on a flat plane, you obviously know that you have a creator. There's no way to actually conceptualize existence on a plane without having a creator having created it. So that's what we're going to get through today. That's the main points. And so there's the 13 points that we're going to be going through is, first, heliocentric debunks that no glober has ever been able to respond to. So now that we have Mr. Sensible and TJump here, we're actually going to have somebody to respond to these. And I'm excited about that. The second thing is flat earth proofs. We're going to be focusing on rivers. I've got a video about this. The third's how perspective works on a flat plane and not a globe. The fourth is materialism and atomism is Kabbalism, just like heliocentrism. The fifth, the origin of heliocentrism, we're going to be going over. Sixth, clouds behind the sun. This is a big one. I've stated for a long time that this is the number one way for a person to be able to prove to yourself that you are in a virtual reality. Ninth is sky shadows pointing to the sun's location in the circle of sight. The 10th is heliocentrism is Kabbalah. All right. The 11th is planes flying through the sun debunks overexposure being the explanation for clouds behind the sun. The 12th is the green flash and water liftoffs that we see when filming the sun, what we actually witness. And the 13th is going to be how far can we see? So we're going to be showing the limits of sight and how things work on a flat plane today.
Yeah, I might even have 13 memes to add into the content too. Who knew Friday the 13th could be such a fun day? I think T-Jump's back.
How you doing, T-Jump?
Good. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
The audio, people in the audience can hear you now, so that's working.
Oh, they can? Should I do the intro again?
Sure, go for it. That's fine with me.
Yeah, okay, let me do it again real quick. I had a good test through to go through it. So, hi, I want to introduce myself. Hey, you know what? Actually, Mr. Sensible, why don't you go first, please?
Intro again. Intro again.
Yes.
Okay, I'm an ordinary guy, not a scientist. I follow the science. On YouTube, my life has mainly been debunking, or trying to debunk, flat Earth, with a little bit of humour and a little bit of science. And I think that's about it in a nutshell.
Okay, I should be unmuted. That's great. I like how you said you follow the science, because that's what we're trying to ask people today. So, hey, nice to meet all you on T-Jump's side and Mr. Sensible's side. I am Ron, the creator of the YouTube channel, The Limitless. I'm excited to be here present right now for this discussion about reality, the one that we live in. So unfortunately, we will not be sharing the quote, straw man, fake, Freemasonic, UN, pressurized pizza dome that's flying in outer space with its never setting, shrinking sun traveling over infinite ponds. We're not going to have any of that. If you'd like to see any of that coverage, check us out at our link in our chat on Telegram at Reality Check. But what we do want to try to attempt today is to show you how our realm actually works with repeatable, measurable observations that we can all actually go out and do ourselves. I know for sure already that you're going to be reality deniers. It's okay, I do. But what I ask of you is that you put aside your pre-programmed indoctrination and allow the evidence to speak for itself today. And lastly, heliocentrism was created by Kabbalistic mystics to give people a creation to worship instead of the creator itself, who is inside of you. And that's it for my intro. Thank you guys for having me on.
That's great. So did you catch the 13 points that I plan on covering today, T-Jump?
Did I do what about 13 points?
Did you catch the 13 points? Did you hear that?
I did not know.
Okay. So let's go through the 13 points that we're going to be going through, and I want to find out which ones you guys enjoy the most. But these, are number one, heliocentric debunks that no glober has been able to respond to. All right, that's the first topic. Second one, flat earth proofs. We're going to have a focus on rivers. Third, how perspective works on a flat plane and not a globe. Fourth, materialism or atomism is Kabbalism. Fifth, the origin of heliocentrism. Sixth, clouds behind the sun. Seventh, the emboss filter. Eighth, planes above the sun and moon. Ninth, sun shadows pointing to the sun's location in the circle of sight. 10th, heliocentrism is Kabbalah. 11th, planes flying through the sun debunks overexposure being the explanation for clouds behind the sun. And 12th, the green flash and water liftoffs that we actually film with cameras like the P1000, P900. And then how far can we actually see? So the limitations of our circle of sight. So these are the topics we want to get into. Is there anything that you want to cover before we start looking at some stuff?
I don't know, Mr. Sensible, what do you think? Do you have a preference?
No, I'm happy just to get stuck straight into it.
All right.
I'm not sure how much time we're looking at, but I haven't got forever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, anything's fine with me. I don't care.
Like at least 2 hours, I think, right, Jay?
Yeah, we'll see what we can get through. Some of this information is going to be really interesting, and we may get stuck in an area for a while. So let's get the screen share going, and
Let's see how that goes. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure any questions that the audience has on T-Jumps that you super chat them. I don't know how much you're going to do this, but send them to Zazel chats, and then I want to hopefully have some great interaction with T-Jumps chat where they come up with good debunks and content and comments about the content that Jason's going to share. And I'm not going to talk over either of you two. If you guys want to interject at any time, just, I just put my hand up sometimes. It's easier to communicate that way. I'm just going to be quiet and allow Jason to present. And I can't wait. I'm really excited to get, a globe earthers or a heliocentric model's perspective on the things that we've been trying to discuss with heliocentrists for years now. So thanks, Jason. If you're ready, I'm going to mute. You haven't screen shared.
oh, let me get that.
Also, the sound picture sometimes clicks when we go live. Sometimes you forget to click that button. Right? But anyways, let's go, everybody. Arms up. It's going to be fun.
You guys was clouds behind the sun one of the options?
It was.
It is.
That would be good to start with. That was fun.
Yeah, it is fun, but what we want to do is establish that heliocentrism has been debunked. So with this video, what I did is it's really just a study of the moon and how the moon debunks heliocentrism, because there's so many different ways to debunk it. But with this one, I got to ask you guys, from heliocentrism, what is your explanation for there not being a lunar eclipse every single month?
Simple. The moon isn't always directly in between the Earth and the sun.
Okay, great. Yeah, so do you know what they call that area? The area that you can't have an eclipse, all right, or the area that you can have an eclipse. So they refer to it as the lunar nodes in heliocentrism, and their lunar nodes are at the equinox. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the heliocentric model, their explanation for there not being a lunar eclipse every single month, and see how this works out. So let's check this debunk out.
Number 3. I want to give special attention to heliocentric debunk number 4 because it is the most easily verifiable debunk of heliocentrism in my opinion. Let's focus on the fact that the only time a lunar or solar eclipse could ever take place in heliocentrism is at...
All right, so do you see this here? We've got, this is right from timeanddate.com. This is standard heliocentric graphics here. And what we have here is the March equinox and the fall equinox that are the times that they say are the only times that lunar eclipses can take place. Do you guys...
We've got to slow you down here. What you've got is a problem with your pass-through on your audio. So you've got to rewind the video, hit play, and watch on your audio direct link, and make sure you see that red bar coming all the way to the top, because we're getting comments. Can people hear me talking right now? Because my audio is cranked And I want to make sure that everyone is saying there's no audio, and if there is no audio, Jason has to go in and switch that. It could be also the way that you're screen sharing Zoom, but it should be passing your audio through. I can hear it on my Zoom feed, but I don't think that Zoom, OBS,
Special attention to
do you see the OBS bouncing?
Yes.
heliocentric
When I talk, you hear me clearly, because they're saying on the other side of the screen that they don't hear me. I don't understand what's going on with the sounds.
No, it's clearly, I'm getting internal sound on OBS.
Up on the OBS?
Oh, yeah.
Should be good. Maybe everybody's just behind us on the stream.
Let me try boosting it a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes I have to keep mine a little boosted too. I just watch that line and make sure that you know what you're doing. I'm just trying to talk while we get these few things ironed out. Cannot hear Ronnie or the video. That is crazy. I've been talking the whole time. I think TJump and Mr. Sensible can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear both you and the video and the stream.
Once you screen share, yeah, there's an issue with the screen share, but if it's showing it bouncing on the OBS screen, it should be good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it's not.
Well, and the thing is we don't have to, we don't need the audio in the video. So we can go through it and analyze the graphics itself.
Go to the Wikipedia for lunar nodes. They have lots of
debunk
pictures.
number 4.
Yeah, this is the graphic that you're going to find, right?
No. Might be similar, but the one on Wikipedia makes more sense to me.
What's the issue with this graphic?
What's the issue with it? So at the equinoxes, right, this is the only time you can have eclipses of the moon or the sun, right? Right. Well, let's get your response.
You need to boost up your desktop audio. Nobody can hear everybody clearly.
I did.
Click on the.
I did boost it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still saying that everyone else is quiet. So we're now talking. They can barely hear TJump or Mr. Sensible. I don't understand why they're having this problem. We've tested this 20 times. The equinox report is, the question was, why don't we see an eclipse each month? And the answer is because eclipses only take place supposedly in the heliocentric model during the equinox period. That's the answer that you get off Wikipedia, right?
Sure. So if you could just go to the picture on Wikipedia, it explains it pretty clearly. Wikipedia one shows exactly if the moon is, if the tilt of the moon, since it's on, the rotation isn't perfectly perpendicular to the rotation of the Earth around the sun, if the moon is above or below the Earth relative to the sun, then the shadow won't go on the Earth and you won't have an eclipse.
Yeah, that's this graphic that we're looking at right here.
See that?
Well, TJump's channel has the good audio, so let's just move on and we'll deal with our end any way possible. As long as his audience is getting the good quality of audio, we're going to just move on, and they could probably hear the screen share volume too. So we can just go forward with the sound, everything the way that it was, Jason. Start again.
Yeah, well, we are into this graphic, and here is the debunk of heliocentrism right here, because the March and fall equinoxes are the only times in heliocentrism that you could have a lunar or solar eclipse. All right, so these graphics where the June solstice and the December solstice is, I'm going to zoom into them in the heliocentric explanation right here of, right, I'm going to focus now on what it says is impossible.
You can play the sound. It works.
Okay.
Great.
Near the June solstice. The model literally makes it impossible for either a lunar or solar eclipse anywhere near these dates. So,
do you guys see and recognize the heliocentric model here? This was your explanation for how there's not a lunar or solar eclipse every month, right? Right, the moon's too high and the moon is too low.
Sure.
All right, so do you recognize that, Mr. Sensible?
Well, the moon's orbital rotation is at an inclination, so I mean, obviously there's always a shadow. That shadow is a cone, but if it doesn't intersect with the Earth, you won't get an eclipse. If it does intersect, you will.
All right, but so the heliocentric explanation for why we don't have a lunar or solar eclipse every month is that at the solstices, because of the 5-degree tilt of the moon to the ecliptic plane right, and the Earth's tilted 23.5 degrees, that puts the moon too high or the moon too low to be eclipsing, correct?
Yeah,
Sure.
sometimes
What's the argument here?
All right, well, the
against either, we both acknowledge that sometimes the shadow will miss the Earth, then there's no eclipse.
all right, so
The dates of projected lunar and solar eclipses. Will we get any outside the narrow window of the equinoxes, which are the
all right, so a big popular eclipse, June 21st. Can anybody tell me what day of the year June 21st is?
No idea. But
Summer
the graph
solstice.
you showed-
Summer solstice.
Quarter of the year past the equinox.
Okay.
This is exactly in the range where heliocentrism says it's too high or too low.
Solstice isn't anywhere on the picture. There's no solstice part. That's something you added. That's not in there.
Oh,
There's the Earth's orbital plane, and then there's the Moon's orbital plane, and when those two align with the Sun, you get the eclipses. There's no months. There's no months anywhere on this picture. That doesn't exist on this picture.
do you recognize this?
Do I recognize this?
This graphic here?
No.
No? Mr. Sensible, do you recognize this graphic?
Sorry, what aspect of it? I mean, that's showing the Earth tilted about 23.5 degrees, rotating around, orbiting around the Sun.
Yeah, it's heliocentrism, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What's the
Definitely the
what's the
Sun's in
arrow
the
show?
middle there.
Yeah, so
What's the arrow show?
the June solstice, right? It's supposed to be, the northern hemisphere is supposed to be tilted towards the sun. The December solstice tilted away. Do you understand where the months line up with the equinoxes and the solstices?
Yes.
Right. All right. TJump was acting like he didn't, like the debunk of this was that this isn't the June solstice, when you're literally using the heliocentric graphics.
But I mean, the moon is constantly orbiting around the Earth. It's cycles within cycles within cycles. You've got rotation of the Earth, orbit of the moon, the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Sometimes those cycles will line up, and sometimes they won't.
No,
lunar and
here's,
solar eclipses?
let's go back to this graphic here. All right, the June solstice, the explanation for why we do not have lunar or solar eclipses every single month is that the moon is either too high or too low, making it impossible to have a lunar or solar eclipse at the solstices. Yet when you search for for eclipses, list of solar eclipses of the 21st century, the very first one that they list
Outside the narrow window of the equinoxes?
is June 21st, the summer solstice.
Possible. Like that's not a thing. Like the tilt from the moon relative to the sun is like 5 degrees, so it's still possible. Like I never claimed it was impossible. There's no issue here. Like this would not in any way be a problem with the heliocentric model.
No, what's not getting through your head? Because we literally have heliocentrism saying it's impossible right here.
No, there's no point where it says it's impossible there.
It says too high or too low.
5-degree tilt, and so at the top of that circle, it wouldn't happen for that diagram. That's all it says. It doesn't say anything about it being impossible. It's not in anywhere in the diagram.
All right, well, let's not belabor the point too much. There's
Is it possible to have an eclipse during the June solstice? That's your question?
In the heliocentric model.
Yes. Well, I mean, everybody.
Well, the model demands that they happen
sources are
during
gonna
the.
be on the heliocentric model.
They just stated that they happen during the equinoxes. The solstices are again another
Care
3
about the
months later.
equinox. Like, an annual eclipse appears as a partial eclipse over a region of the Earth's thousands of kilometers wide. The eclipse will start only a few hours after the northern solstice, and most of the path will increase across areas with midnight sun. Yes. Solar eclipse June 21st, 2039. So yes. There's no.
yeah. So heliocentrism
Yes, we can.
debunked there. Now we've got more. There's
Debunk there. Like our model says, yes, you can have those.
no. I'm showing everybody the model literally, in order to
Picture. That's a picture It doesn't say that
That's the heliocentric model. That is the heliocentric model.
picture.
Well, it's one snapshot.
Yeah.
Centric model.
Well,
Snapshot.
specifically for the reason of explaining why there is not a lunar and solar eclipse every single month.
Right, and you picked a picture of one example where the picture does not show any shadow. Does that entail that the heliocentric model says that they are impossible? No, it does not say that.
All right, there's more ways to debunk it. Let's go to heliocentric debunk number 3.
2. There is another closely linked debunk of heliocentrism, and that is the direction that the path of totality shows up. The path of totality could only show up on the ground as traveling from east to west, due to the direction of rotation of Earth. Let's zoom in here a little bit and watch. The path of totality of a solar eclipse is a narrow, roughly 70-mile wide band that experiences the sun fully blocked by the moon. With Earth spinning in the direction required for sunrise to be in the east and sunset in the west, we can clearly see that all eclipses must begin in the east and travel west. This is an unarguable point.
Before you go on, I
and
do
the
want to comment on one thing. So, like, the original point you made was that lunar eclipses don't happen every month, which is fine.
No, I asked you the explanation for why lunar eclipses don't happen every month, and you said it's too high and too low.
And then you said it was impossible for them to happen in this month. Those are two different claims that are completely unrelated. So, like, saying that here's a reason why they don't happen every month, and here's the reason why it's impossible to happen in this particular month. Those are two different claims, and the second claim wasn't being defended there. I don't know, like, why you just deflected on this completely irrelevant topic.
Because I've got so many other debunks for us to get through.
Well, let's cover this one. You're saying that the shadow should travel from east to west because of the direction of rotation of the Earth. But look at that diagram you've got up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the arrows for the orbit of the moon. It's going counterclockwise there, yeah? So the shadow will move from west to east. The moon is tracking across, or the shadow of the moon is tracking across the Earth comparatively quickly. The Earth is turning slowly. If the Earth was spinning at the sort of speed you're showing in that diagram, then yes, it would appear from east to west. But in reality, the moon and its shadow is crossing the path of the Earth more quickly.
So the amount of time that it takes for the shadow to go across Earth is another one of the heliocentric debunks that we're going to be getting to. Ronnie, what did you?
Let's take it back to the actual debunk here. Is we are actually locating the direction of the eclipse shadow itself. Let's stay on topic.
Yeah, so here the animation makes it real simple for a person to not get confused. Because the Earth is rotating the correct direction here for sunrise in the east and sunset in the west, and the shadow is being cast right here. We do understand that the moon is moving as well in heliocentrism, and we're going to be addressing that. But as far as the direction that the shadow would show up on Earth, you can clearly see that if it's hitting a spot like this and Earth is rotating.
This is an unarguable.
Yeah, but if you can go back to that animation,
Mm-hmm.
what that animation shows is the moon stationary, casting a shadow, and the Earth rotating beneath it. The moon is moving faster. The shadow of the moon is moving faster. What your animation is not showing is a moving shadow. It's just showing a moving Earth. Now, if on the scale you're talking about, because that's hideously out of scale, the moon would be travelling a lot quicker, and so that shadow would be moving from west to east, left from about 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock on your diagram, where that red line is. It would be going the other way.
Well, you've sort of stepped into it, because we're both going to show that the direction that the eclipse starts and the length of duration are both heliocentric debunks as well. So in this case, the Earth spinning like this would cast a shadow that travels from the east to the west, because you can see it on the east coast of Brazil. If I hit play, now it's at the west coast.
That is what your animation shows, but the reality, for that animation to be more accurate, that moon needs to be moving.
Well, we'll be getting to that one. So
let's just stick with this one right now. So what Mr. Sensible said makes perfect sense. If the moon is moving faster than the Earth, then the rate the moon will move when it hits the shadow is going to be significantly faster than the Earth's rotation in the other direction. And so the speed of the shadow will actually be going from west to east, because the speed of the moon is significantly faster than the rotation of the Earth. And so even though if the Earth was rotating, it wouldn't be rotating fast enough to make the shadow go in the other direction.
So you're pulling model size Earth speed fallacy with your interjection, but that still doesn't debunk the fact that the shadow is traveling in the opposite direction that it would be if the Earth was spinning. Continuing on, Jason, go to your next point.
Yeah, so I mean they've
Literally doesn't make sense. So like even if the Earth is spinning,
It makes sense.
no, it doesn't. So like if
Let's
the Earth is spinning, say I have a spinning ball, and then I have an object that's blocking like a shadow because I have a light right there, so there's a shadow here. Now if I'm spinning, but my hand moves faster, the speed of the shadow will be the speed of my hand minus the opposite rotation of the ball, right? So like if my
you're just getting ahead of yourself. That's
shadow will be the speed of my hand, and then
Get
if,
to the
because
speeds.
the Earth is going the opposite direction, it'll be minus, or the same direction, it'll be minus this speed, but it will still be a positive speed from west to east, won't it?
it's in the video already. You
At least sorry, Jason.
he's jumping ahead.
Speeds. No, it's a good thing that you guys are queuing up the mental processes that think about how the speeds would actually take place. But continue, brother.
All right, so here's another way of looking at the debunk.
Another way to debunk heliocentrism is that we can literally map which direction an eclipse has to happen and at what time. If the Earth is moving this way 67,000 miles per hour and the Moon is traveling this way 2,288 miles per hour, then to have an eclipse, be it total or annular or partial, the path of the eclipse must be from the south to the north during the March eclipse.
You guys get that? Do you see how? Well, you saw the arrows, right?
Yeah.
67,000 miles an hour orbiting the sun. The moon, 2,288 miles per hour around Earth, right? So you were talking about the two going in two different directions and what that entails, right? How it, right? So it is all mapped out here. And one of the things that you can see is that
We're talking about the rotation speed of the Earth. The rotation speed of the Earth relative to the moon is slower
1,000
than
miles an
speed
hour
of
at the
moon.
equator. The Earth is traveling 60,000 miles around the galactic center,
We're
and
talking
he's
about the
stating that the moon is
rotation
traveling
speed, not the
2,288.
movement speed. Rotation
The moon
and
doesn't
rotation
rotate.
speed.
We've only ever seen one face of it. It's very simple to pay attention. I think we're going off like, oh, we don't understand. This is retarded. Let's be adults here. At the beginning of this, we said we were going to look at stuff from an objective reality. We're just looking for truth. You're just constantly saying that everything we're showing is stupid because you don't understand it. How is this?
No,
a
we
good
do
conversation?
understand it. We do
No,
understand
well,
it.
then
Look,
pay attention.
let him go, Ronnie. Let him go.
look at a clock, look at the hour hand. The Earth is rotating at half that speed. May I share my screen for a minute? Just for a minute.
Now you're going into size relations and trying to
No.
mind control people out of reality. We're showing
Well,
the
I'm
measurement of
going
the
to
speeds of the
demonstrate.
luminaries and your planet Earth and what would happen during an eclipse. It's simple.
Ronnie,
I want to
just to clarify.
demonstrate how your diagram, your animation is wrong. I'll show you one image, and it will show how that diagram is wrong.
It's from the internet of the global heliocentric model. Jason
No,
didn't
this
create
is
it.
measured. This is measured.
it was
Jason didn't make that. Did you make that and create it all and put the you?
No, it's
screen cap.
from timeanddate.com.
What are you guys saying? The heliocentric. You guys are debunking the heliocentric model live. Look at this. Now we have eclipses traveling north, south, east, and west.
Ronnie,
all in your
Ronnie,
same
it's our
model.
turn. Ronnie, it's our turn to talk.
Go ahead.
It's our turn to talk. So,
Can you? I don't know. Can you see the diagram I'm sharing?
yes, you see the total
So-
solar
so-
eclipse path 2001 to 2025.
They're all curves. Your diagram shows with that red line, it shows the shadow in a straight line. Yes, the shadow travels in a straight line, but it appears on the Earth in a curve. Now that's not just some meme. Those are actual measured things. If you're in those areas, you will see the eclipse. If you're out of those areas, you won't.
Mr. Sensible, that graphic, you're going to laugh. You are going to laugh because if all I had to do is hit play for like another second,
Partial.
all right,
Path of the eclipse
we're just going to,
to the north.
oh, is it just,
You got a screen share sound.
me,
was hilarious. You guys are funny. It is fun. You know, I gotta let you guys talk more. I'll try to calm down.
No, that's fine. Interrupting is good. Dumpster fire gets more views. So.
Yeah.
All right, so now all I have to do is hit play on this video.
During the March equinox. The reciprocal is true during the September equinox. In this case, eclipses must happen from the north to the south. The paths of totality promoted by heliocentrists shows that it
See, all you had to do is wait, because
Obviously, didn't know that was coming up. How can you explain those curved paths on a flat Earth?
oh, it's real simple. But that has to do with sunrise, set, and elevation angles. When the moon's rise, set, and elevation angles are the same as the sun's at a new moon, that's when we have a solar eclipse. So you can path out the areas latitude and longitude wise that will have that type of an anomaly. And the neat thing about these eclipses is check out eclipse shadows, because what they do is they debunk atomism and materialism, because the shadows are actually now light instead of a shadow. So eclipses are very special. Go ahead, brother.
And before we move on from this image, I know Mr. Sensible was bringing up the curved pass. Mr. Sensible, what do you think would happen if I projected this image to your globe sphere? What do you think would happen to those curved lines?
Which is something I was going to say. Then it will appear as a straight line.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on.
Well, that's just debunked
so-
you.
No, our model actually explains it.
The argument is that we would expect the eclipses to go in the opposite direction they actually do.
Wait,
The heliocentric model. That's your argument, right?
let's go back to the actual argument. So
Yeah.
here you've got with the path of the
equinox.
Right. So you're saying
The reciprocal is
eclipse would go from the south to the north.
Due to the
This was
axis of the
accurate.
planes of the Earth and the Moon and the Sun and the galactic great axis. What do they call it?
if you look at
Wait, I just want to simplify this. Your argument is that if this was accurate, the eclipse would go from the south to the north.
at the March equinox.
Right. And you think that's the case
Because we can 3D model it. Because we can 3D model it. So if you put the moon in rotation around Earth here, if you have everything dialed in, everything exact, you are going to see the shadow, obviously, because if the moon's path is inclined this direction, it's going to come from the south to the north. And then the reciprocal during the fall equinox, all right, because of the path of the moon now, all right.
go back to the other picture. We'll just stick with one picture at a time.
We got so many more.
No, it's the same. This is just the September equinox.
I want to explain
Okay.
the other picture.
All right.
Going back to the other picture. So you think that it's impossible on this situation for the eclipse to go from the west to the east. That's what you're saying.
We're not talking about west and east right now. We're talking about the fact that the totality path would actually have to come from the south to the north.
Right. So you're saying it's impossible for the totality path to go from the west to the east.
No, I'm talking about it going from the north to the south, not west and east. We already covered that one.
What? What you're saying literally makes no sense now. So what is your argument against the flat Earth here?
We're not against the flat Earth.
Or against the heliocentric. What is your argument against the heliocentric model in this picture?
The argument is that the eclipse would have to come from the south to the north during the March equinox, and it would have to go from the north to the south.
Go from west to east. That is, you're saying it is
We're not talking about west and east now. We're talking about north and south.
in this picture.
We're talking about north and south, not west and east. We already covered that one.
Yeah, we're now into the north-south path.
Yeah.
South-north.
All right. So you guys seem stumped. Let's go to the one about time.
Stumped. Not stumped.
Okay.
About this, if this is all 3D modeled, you can download one of those sandbox, solar system or universe sandbox type things, and you can fast forward it, you can wind it back. You will see what we actually see, and it's not what you're showing.
This is heliocentrism's explanation for why we don't have a lunar or solar eclipse every month. That's what we're going through right now. This is the explanation. This is the lunar nodes. This is a map of the lunar nodes.
Model of the heliocentric model that you can play. You press the play button. You can watch exactly to scale what these planets do, and they map perfectly onto the data. I don't know what your argument is.
You can't do it to scale. Like that right there is an absurdity. If anybody know, yeah, you can one.
Program would have to be like 400 miles long.
Or if Earth is 1 pixel.
Do you not know how computer games work? Like, yeah,
Yeah, we do.
Scale model of the solar system in a computer. Yeah.
You cannot.
You'd have to put the sun in Austin. The moon would have to be in like Toronto, Ontario.
Do you not know how
in your
computers
computer
work?
model.
Do you not know how computers work?
We do.
Let's move on.
So no, we have a computer model of the heliocentric thing where we have the sun to scale in a computer. It's digital, it's not physical, digital to scale model of the sun, the moon, and the earth, and they rotate exactly like how we say they do in the heliocentric model. And if you press the play button on the video, on the 3D model of what's going on, you can see the shadows and where they would go, and it predicts exactly map onto what we see in
And so
reality.
does our flat reality too, with the Andrew Marsh website.
Well,
We predict and map
so-
everything.
Independent of the flat reality, what your criticism is that if the heliocentric model is true, then we would expect to see the shadow going in the opposite direction that it does. That's false. If the heliocentric model is true, we would expect it to show up exactly in the way that it does show up. And so you're
showing you that it's wrong.
mischaracterizing the heliocentric model based off of this very simple diagram, which is not
The
in
heliocentric model
scale.
mischaracterizes itself when it claims that you can only have eclipses during the equinoxes when we clearly have it happening on the solstices. The next
no
one
one
was
claims
that
that. Literally
the
no
traveling
one claims that.
motions of the
No one
spin of the
claims that.
Earth and the moon around the sun would indicate that the shadow would actually travel from the east to the west. Right,
Wait,
and
that's your
in
argument
just
with
March,
why-
in
why
March
would-
it would only travel the shadow from the south of the Earth to the north. And Jason's put it here with your own model and showed you the fallacy and error in it. And all you guys can say is, "Well, look at this modeling program." When we're showing you your own program right here, and the
No,
problem
you're
is
using,
that
you're
isn't
using
our
a
own.
I knew
not
you'd be
to
denier,
scale
but we
model.
definitely have a lot more to show.
Let them talk because I want to talk.
Not to scale model. So if I showed you a picture of the flat Earth that I drew, or that Nathan Oakley drew, or something, and said, "Ha! You see, the whole flat Earth model fails because of this one picture Nathan Oakley drew," you'd be like, "Well, that's weird. I'm not Nathan Oakley. I don't use that picture. That's a very not to scale model, right? You'd want an actually to scale model to represent your position. You wouldn't want to mischaracterize by a very simplistic model that is only there to express a single point." And then trying to use that model to explain everything about the universe doesn't really work very well, does it? Did you really think this argument through very well?
Do the two of you understand what it says here? Moon too high. Do you understand what that means? Okay.
Of course we do.
Do you see when they have it? At the solstices, right? Too high. 235,000 miles. You're talking about scale. Yes, the moon's going to be really too high, of course. It's only like 2,000 miles in diameter. So this moon too high.
Every June. This is not a picture of every June throughout history.
Yes, it is. Because
It's not.
it's the solstices
No.
and the equinoxes. They don't change. The solstices and equinoxes. What day do you think the solstice and equinox is, TJump?
On the first of every month or whatever, it doesn't equate exactly with our calendar months or where we are around the sun.
How far of a
So the new moon slowly go forward or backwards, whichever way it is.
deviation do you have from equinox and solstices from year to year? How much of a variation? June 21st or June 22nd, right?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the
December 21st or December 22nd?
If you had a new moon on, pick a date, December the 22nd, then next year you will not have a new moon on December the 22nd or just at the tail end of it. The year after, it would be slightly different. It's a slowly changing cycle.
Yeah, it changes over 3 months in this cycle. So
Diagram does not cover every.
it's not my diagram. This is heliocentric. This is timeanddate.com.
If that's June, with your diagram there, if that's June the 21st or whatever, then the next time the Earth has reached that point around its orbit, the moon will be in a different position. It won't be. You don't have a new moon on exactly the same day every year.
I understand. You have to have a new moon near it, though. And So, lunar node. I'm going to make this real simple for you guys. Lunar node. I took the picture right from, here it is.
There it is.
Right? What is a total lunar or eclipse? This is the graphic that I took and used. All right, so it's all you have to do is look at the tilt of the Earth. Yeah. So
We need to move on. They're not understanding the argument. That's fine.
All right.
That's fine. They can say they disagree, and that's it.
Wait, here's a website, the Sky Live, where it has all of the orbits to scale, where you can type in the date and you can show exactly what's going to happen on those dates.
And we can
in
do
the
that too on a flat
heliocentric
plane.
model and the shadows.
We can do
in
that
this
too.
one, you can just put in the date of wherever you want on June and see, oh, is there an eclipse there?
Put that in your chat.
Yes, there is.
I'll save that website and see what anything else I can glean. But we've
Cool,
got
yeah,
so many
there's
things
tons
to
of these.
prove.
This 3D model to scale of solar system, and you zoom in and then you press the play button and you type in the date and look, there's an eclipse with the Earth and the Moon.
But you know
June.
they were
No one
predicting
claimed it's
eclipses
impossible.
long before the heliocentric sphere Earth model even existed,
Well, no,
right?
you claim.
Like,
your
I
claim
mean,
was
you
that-
think that an eclipse prediction proves your sphere, your laws.
Right. Well, your
All right.
claim was that this would be impossible on the heliocentric
Solstices.
model. Here is a
Solstices.
literal model of heliocentrism where there's the sun in the middle, there's the Earth over here, and there's the moon here. And guess what? You can get eclipses in June in this model, which is heliocentric. Even if you don't believe this model is correct, this thing in a computer where the sun is in the center can get eclipses in June, which proves your model wrong.
no, heliocentrism wrong, not our model wrong. Yes.
Heliocentricism states that you can't have those types of eclipses happening out of
Here is
those
a
nodes. You're not
heliocentric
looking
model
at your
that
own
does.
graphic.
All right, we've got one more debunk, and then we can.
Saying it can't do.
We got one more debunk in this video, and then we'll move on.
Now you will notice that the moon is defined as having an orbit that is tilted 5 degrees to the ecliptic plane. That 5-degree tilt is defined to the ecliptic plane, not Earth's 23.5-degree tilt in heliocentrism. As you can see in each of these diagrams, the tilt of the moon's orbit is contrary to the tilt of Earth in heliocentrism. So now that you have the lay of the land,
Now let's jump ahead here a little.
equinox and the September equinox being labeled as the nodes. Each of these nodes are the only time eclipses of the sun and moon could ever take place. Looking at the diagram, we can see that there are only 2 possible times this could happen, and that it is at the equinoxes which have been labeled nodes. Let's zoom in on the March node, as this will be the easiest to see. In heliocentrism, the moon must transit in front of the sun in order for a solar eclipse to take place. Now, as we know, in heliocentrism, the Earth is moving 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, and the moon is traveling 2,288 miles per hour around Earth. So we see here at the March equinox that Earth is moving 67,000 miles per hour this way, and that the moon is moving 2,288 miles per hour this way. With Earth having a diameter of less than 8,000 miles, the transit of the shadow would take roughly 6 minutes and 56 seconds at the combined speed of 69,288
All right, you guys want to test the math?
I'm not going to test the math, but what you're forgetting, your diagram is showing the orbital inclination of the moon at one angle's the wrong word, but for instance, can you just go back so you can see the diagram without that maths thing over the top?
Yeah.
So you've got I mean, sort of centre top of the picture where you've got the 67,000 miles an hour. You're showing the orbital tilt of the moon at a certain angle as opposed to the plane of the ecliptic.
Yes.
That processes, it changes, it cycles over about 18 and a bit years. So what is true in that diagram today won't be true next year or the year after or the year after that.
And how far do you propose that you think it's going to drift, up or down?
No, it's processing.
Okay, how far do you predict that it will process, north or south of that path on its ecliptic orbit?
No, the moon will remain at the same orbital inclination as opposed to the Earth's orbital plane, but the direction of if imagine it like a spinning top changes. It processes. Right now, you've got the inclination leaning that way, but in however many years, it's leaning that way.
Yeah.
All right, so
Said humans are causing the Earth to wobble. Climate change, right?
we actually understand that 19-year cycle with the moon, and what it's talking about is, so like the farthest it travels north. With the sun, we talk about the tropics being the farthest that it travels north or south. With the moon, it has a wider path that it travels between, and it goes through a cycle where it has its most northern, farthest that it'll travel to the north, farthest travel to the south, and it is a 19-year cycle. We get and understand all that, but that's not explaining in a way the debunk of heliocentrism right here, because what we're talking about is combining the speeds because they're opposing each other, right? And then the mass, what it's going to tell us is that the length of time that it would take for the shadow to go across the face of Earth is 6.9 minutes, right? Because one's 8,000 miles in diameter and the other one's 2,000 miles in diameter, and then you combine those speeds, and so under 7 minutes is the length of transit of the shadow in heliocentrism. Simple mass.
Point over a point. So if you're stood there watching an eclipse, then I can't remember the exact figure, but the maximum length of eclipse you could see is about 7 minutes, I think, something like that, 7.5 minutes.
I've got the information in here.
The eclipse, from when it starts to when it ends, can be several hours.
That's exactly the point I make. So, right here, the record.
Oh, there we go, 7 minutes 32. Not bad, eh?
Yes. No, good job. So we're talking about totality now, right? Mm-hmm. Totality, not the duration of the eclipse.
That's right,
Totality for an observer.
Yes. So this graphic right here shows the duration of the eclipse, and this one shows the length of totality. All right, and you'll see that
Across the face of Earth took over 5 hours. So the first debunk of heliocentrism here is that the length of solar eclipses that we record and witness are much too long for the heliocentric model.
But you just debunked yourself.
no, it takes.
Go back halfway back. There, stop there. You can see that totality is that little black spot in the middle. That passes over an area that takes a maximum time of, as we saw, 7 minutes 32. The wider penumbra, where you see a partial eclipse, will last longer. But the actual eclipse as a whole, from start to finish, as it has travelled across the face of the Earth, could be several hours. That's not a problem.
No, it is, because all we have to do is go back to the graphic, and
The math of your orbital mechanics on your spinning Earth and your spinning moon.
the longest
Each other.
the shadow could be cast across Earth is under 7 minutes because of the speed of the moon and the speed of Earth. All right, that's the longest. Under 7 minutes because of the speed of these two things and the sizes. The mass are there. Nobody can deny this. All eclipses would have to be less than 7 minutes, yet we have totality in the range of 7 minutes.
No, that's dumb.
But you guys have to take away all the movement and measurements and say that everything is relative to make it work.
No,
And then
we
flip the
literally-
total
this is very, very
totality
easy.
to the duration totality.
I mean, this is very easy to prove wrong. Like, you can make a computer model that has all the same numbers that we use, press the play button, and just count how long does it take. It's very, very easy. Like, this has been done to death to prove you wrong a million times. Like, literally, this is the easiest claim to prove wrong of probably all of yours, because all you have to do is make a computer model. You don't have to think it's real. Just say, make a computer model that has all of the numbers that NASA uses, press the play button, use a stopwatch, problem solved. Like literally.
You do understand that these numbers are at a scale that there is no possible way to show any representation of it. If you made something the size of a pixel, you would need to have a TV screen the size of a football stadium in order to be able to get the.
Work, Jason.
We're talking.
Yes, it is.
It is
like-
We're talking about scale.
You can zoom in to looking at the moon and the sun.
So but when we zoom in, you tell us that it's not valid. Now you're telling us we need to zoom out. You're flip-flopping. We got to move on. You got so much more information. We can accept that you don't agree with our premise, and we can move on.
So you can make a model in a computer that obeys rules, and you press the play button, you watch it.
You can make a model do anything.
Like,
What are you talking about? We're showing you your model, and we're showing you how it's debunked.
It's not hard to understand.
You can't come back with, we can model it to make it work. I can make a Mobius infinite Earth.
Your argument, wait, stop, Ern. So your argument is this is impossible on a heliocentric model, which means if in a computer I can make a heliocentric model where this happens, that proves you wrong.
All right, provide it to us. Provide us.
Lots of them. I already did. I did earlier. I
No.
gave you an example of one earlier. There's lots of these. These exist.
We'll further check out your website.
Send us the link. We'll check it out.
They're extremely common.
And if we're moving off from this, what I would like to see
heliocentric
is...
model
But
generator.
then all we need to use is Stellarium, and you guys are going to say debunked, right?
Let's
Yeah, Stellarium, use that.
Yeah.
What I would say is, how the hell can you explain an eclipse over a flat Earth?
Yeah, I've got a video that does it. So
This was just the intro.
yeah, this was when we debated Red's rhetoric and Sean Hufford. They were absolutely unable to respond to any of these. Let's see if you guys can do any better. So this was one of the globe debunks that we used then.
Just to clarify,
For Earth to
I was just given a link in the chat. There's one called Space Engine. It does all this for you. You just download it. You press the play button. You can do all the calculations. You can zoom in, see exactly what it does. You can count it. Use a stopwatch, see exactly how long it takes. All of these things.
We know how to test it.
Even if you don't believe this is true, the fact that this model exists and shows that the exact time that it would take for the eclipse to happen and it doesn't correspond to your numbers proves you wrong that a heliocentric model can't account for this, because that literally is a heliocentric model in a computer program that does account for this.
We'll test it. So check this out.
Rotate with the
Engine-
motions defined
spaceengine.org.
by heliocentrism, we could feel acceleration and deceleration as demonstrated in this experiment. Not only do we not feel, nor can we measure any acceleration and deceleration, but Ares failed to detect any movement of Earth whatsoever. We demand the defendants provide measurable, repeatable evidence for the acceleration, deceleration, and movement of Earth. Without
You guys see what's going on here?
Well, we do feel that. What are the arms called? Foucault pendulums? They exist. There you go.
It's not a Foucault pendulum.
No.
But what is he talking about? The fact that as we're supposedly turning around the Earth, sometimes we're going with the orbit of the Earth, sometimes against it, so our speed is changing. Is that what you're saying?
It's,
This is a demonstration of two motions of rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's got a marker right here that it draws on a pane of glass as it's traveling by. So they've got the wheel rotating here and traveling in a linear path, which would be mimicking Earth's rotation, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So this is you could put an accelerometer onto this tip of this marker right here, and it's going to measure what? Acceleration and deceleration.
but Ares
See, because it comes to a full stop and then turns back upon itself. So if you were to put a mark on...
I know what you're saying. So if that wheel going along is the Earth, you are the marker pen. Then as you're orbiting the sun, you're going at one speed and you're slowing down to almost stop. And yeah, that's a straw man.
No, it's
No.
physical, repeatable, observable evidence. You can't throw a straw man without an actual backer to that. We're showing you what something does when it's spinning in two different directions.
Yeah, you're talking
What? You can't
spinning.
straw man that. A straw man would be
Well,
us
I
trying
mean,
to...
you're going to let me explain.
Go ahead. So.
Yeah, that's all right. Like we said before, I know we'll talk over each other from time to time. That's fine. I know there's no nastiness or anything. You are sat on the Earth. You are held there with gravitational attraction. You are... I mean, we've got those arcs there, the humps, as that demonstration was travelling along. It takes us 24 hours to make a full rotation.
And what is the speed?
We are
What is the speed of a person? Let's say this is a representation of
Equator.
the equator.
per day.
But how...
In
moving at the equator.
in miles per hour.
4 RPM.
How fast is it moving at the equator?
It doesn't matter.
It matters.
Once per
That's the-
day.
Wait, you're confusing
1,000
angular
miles
momentum?
per hour at the
One second.
equator.
Wait, stop. So you're confusing the angular momentum and angular change versus straight directional momentum.
No
Those
confusion.
are different things.
Angular velocity. So
The line
if you have, let me talk.
is supposed to be, the marker is supposed to be us, and the rotating thing is supposed to be Earth. And relative to the sun, we hit a point that's closest to the sun, and then the Earth keeps.
We're not
going,
talking
and
about the
then
sun. This is about the Earth's motion. Nothing to do
But
with the
that's what,
sun.
that's
Around
what
the
this
sun.
demonstration is showing.
Yeah, so if you have a record, one of those 33 records, a nice big record, right? It's rotating at 33 revolutions per minute, correct? So if you measure close to the center stem, right, it's going to be rotating very slow, but on the outside edge, it's going to be rotating very fast. So angular velocity.
Exactly the same speed, 33 revolutions per minute.
No, we're talking.
Inside of a racetrack.
We want to
The outside.
talk about the miles per hour around the outside, not.
But it's meaningless.
No, your one revolution per day is meaningless. Because now all of a sudden,
Thought experiments like Isaac Newton thought he could shoot a cannonball up into the air and it would just circle the Earth forever. That's meaningless.
now all of a sudden
Measurable, repeatable evidence of what would take place if the Earth were spinning and moving forward in direction. You can't nullify it with saying straw man or any other fallacy. You have to accept this as actual proof of evidence of what takes place when you have two different motions. You have a rotation plus a forward motion. We're showing
Yeah,
you
but-
that there would be an acceleration and deceleration. There's no way around it.
In relation to your path around the sun.
Not into any relation about the sun. This is talking about an object spinning
no,
and
you
moving
just said
forward.
this
Take the sun out of this, I said. This is.
Oh my God, Ronnie,
do you
Ronnie,
see
we're
the
just
sun on the screen? I do not see a sun in this picture.
Ronnie, let him talk.
Ronnie, you're just saying like if we were traveling through space on a spinning Earth, like so the sun, we happen to be traveling around the sun. It's irrelevant to our argument. So yes, so if the Earth was rotating, just spinning through space, not around anything, that's the argument. Okay, fine, yes. What is the angular rate of change in that speed?
Yeah,
You would notice is as you went, you would slow down to a complete stop, and then you would be accelerated forward again through the arc. It's showing you literally on the screen, and this is like 60 years old.
But you just
Just
said
look.
you would slow down.
yeah. Watch.
The drawing.
Listen,
Look at the.
hold on, Ronnie. You're sat in your chair for 24 hours, okay? So what you're saying is you'll have sped up at one point, slowed down at another point. In relation to what? Your chair hasn't moved. It's still sat in the middle of your living room. In relation to, that's what I said, the sun. You could be travelling in a path that orbit with a radius of 93 million miles. Takes us a year to go round. If you actually had a traced line where it is and looked along it, it would look dead straight. It's big. So
Again, you're taking things to size comparisons like Neil deGrasse
It
Tyson.
matters.
Of course, you wouldn't see how big you're a tiny grain of sand on a beach ball. No, this is all nonsense. What we're showing you is the two motions of movement for a rotating, forward-directing object has acceleration and deceleration, and none of these things have ever been measured. Just like my chair isn't going to move if I don't move it because Earth is motionless, and we can test it and repeat it, and we can go out and show it. That's what we said we were going to do.
So with an accelerometer on the tip of this thing right here, it would be showing coming to a full stop and then going forward again. Coming to a full stop and then going forward again.
thermometer is on the surface of the Earth. If you placed it on the table, sat it on, or Ronnie's holding it, sat in his chair, as I was saying, then his movement is constant at one revolution per 23 hours 56 minutes. Or
Well,
whatever it is.
we're showing people that have the ability to just look at this video that what you're saying isn't true. It comes to
Okay.
a complete stop.
Now listen, relative is critical. Just wind that video just about halfway so that wheel's in.
What do you mean
about
by
halfway.
relative? What
Well,
do you
I'll
mean?
explain.
Clarify.
I'll explain. Right. So now what we've got is we are sat still. That wheel is travelling past us, relative to us. If we were on a camera that was on an arm, looking straight at that wheel, all we would see is that. And
All that
everything
would
else
change
goes
is our perspective and parallax to the spinning moving wheel. The spinning moving wheel is
No,
showing
not
us
parallax.
exactly
No,
what
not
it
talking
is
about parallax.
and what it's doing. You can't say that if we were moving now. Everything that you're
What you're looking
interjecting
at,
here
that-
is just taking away from the simple, obvious logic understanding of what Jason's showing. If you guys could just say that you understand what we're showing, we could just move on. We got so much more.
So I understand. So if we put,
No,
let's
that
say
traced
that
out
we
the-
spin the camera,
the
let's say that we're
lumber-
spinning the camera, and we put an accelerometer just on the table.
The,
Why do you want to spin the
measure.
camera? I don't understand.
suppose I'm holding the camera and
The
spinning it in my hand,
rotating around the
spinning it to make it
center
look
of
like.
Then let's put the accelerometer on the camera and we'll measure the motion of the camera.
Stick with my analogy, Jason. So my analogy is I'm spinning the camera and the accelerometer is on the table. Will the accelerometer measure anything?
If the if it's on the table, it will not measure anything because Earth is not moving.
It's fixed. And that's how all the devices that we
Relative
measure
to the
things
camera.
off of actually work.
Relative to the camera. So the camera's spinning to make it look like that image.
Then you put the accelerometer on the camera to see what motion you're applying to that, right?
TJump, how many miles an hour is your car going when it's in park?
A lot.
Is it? It's going 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, huh? But even though your measuring device, logical rate in reality says it's moving 0 miles an hour. Right?
It is moving
let's
zero
move on.
in relation to the surface of the Earth.
All that is nonsensical thought experiment. We are going to show you verifiable, researchable, testable, repeatable evidences that we can go out and actually visual. We've got clouds behind the sun to get to. Now we're going to go into curvature.
Okay, let's go to curvature.
So what you're seeing here is one of my first videos that I ever did. This is from like early 2016. So it was my first flat Earth proof video. And so it just so happened that I lived on a river here in Austin that we had a big flood. And so I paid really close attention to what sea level was and how many feet above sea level we were because we were on the river where it flooded. So this right here is a study of my situation. Now, the first thing we got to do is we got to agree on the curvature formula real quick, guys. Do you understand that 8 inches per mile squared does not give you enough curvature?
It doesn't give you a curve at all. It gives you a parabola.
Well, it gives you a slope. It's right here.
No, that's a straight line.
It's a slope. So
A parabola.
When the squared, the 8 inches per mile squared, means it goes up exponentially. It wouldn't be a parabola. It wouldn't be a line.
But I'll grant you that at relatively short distances, it can give you a rough guide.
right? It's not too bad, but it doesn't give you enough curvature for it to work for heliocentrism. Right? It comes way short. We got that?
Well, to be honest, most flat earthers say the other thing, and they'll go on about however far out you go, and then it's an infinite or virtually an infinite drop because it's a parabola.
Yeah, it comes up way short if you actually test it.
It's a meaningless thing, but I know that a lot of flat earthers use 8 inches per mile squared.
But we're gonna use it for rough means. You agreed that it sort of works in a rough way. So here's the premise. My place on the river was 140 miles from the coast here in Texas, and so what I did is I modeled this up, and what we got here is at 143 miles, the total curvature would be 13,632 feet, all right? But I was 400 feet above sea level, right? So I subtracted that out, so we've got 13,232 feet of drop that we should have from the mouth of the river to my house, right? So all you have to do is have the observer positioned right here where the river flows into the larger body of water. And from this observer's vantage, if they look back towards my house, right, my house would have to be 1,200 feet below. Yes, because everybody places themselves at the top of the globe.
Oh my goodness! You're not going to what's his name? 10th Man's Alice and Bob proof, are you?
We don't know.
No, never heard of them.
Oh right. So you got that lady there. She's looking to the left
Mm-hmm.
and can see that the horizon has dropped. You put Bob at that end. He looks to the right, but she's dropped. So why isn't it curving like this? Is that where you're going?
No. The fact is, for the person that's
Just talking about the fact that what are you saying? Your elevation at your house was about 400 feet. Is that what you're saying?
400 feet above sea level, yes.
Okay, 400 feet above sea level. I don't know how far from the sea it is.
143 miles. It's all in the graph here.
Right. So that all that means is from that start point of your house to the mouth of the river, there is a drop of 400 feet. That's all the drop is. Do you not get that?
Yeah, except for
your house is 400 foot roughly further from the centre of the earth than the mouth of the river is.
Yeah, so this is just one of the...
Flow because of the curve of the earth. They flow purely due to elevation.
Yeah, well, rivers wouldn't work on a globe. And this right here is the demonstration of that.
No,
You
it's
guys see
Right.
the problem with the image? I don't see the problem.
You don't see the problem. So the observer right here that's at the mouth, that, like Mr. Sensible is saying, we know that there has to be 400 feet of elevation drop for the water to move from the back of my house into this body of water up here, right? There has to be that elevation drop. But yet, you don't believe that there has to be elevation drop for water to flow?
elevation drop. That's not curvature. If you
Wait,
took
so
an
you're saying that water
absolutely,
can't go from your house to the river or something? Is that your argument? On a curve?
I think where he's coming from, Tom, is if you had a perfectly smooth ball, Jason, the elevation is like you stuck something on the outside of that ball. So it's flowing from the highest point, the furthest point from the centre of the ball, back to the surface of the ball, means sea level. That's all it is. It's got nothing to do with
Sea level, I like that. Can I show a meme? Can I interject?
Yeah.
Let me stop screen sharing. I'll screen share real quick. Let's see if this works. Trying to do this so that everybody can see. So you guys should be able to see here. We're starting off with the Nile, right? Is it clear? Can everybody
That's the
see?
same thing he's talking about.
So a river that flows north over 4,000 miles against the supposed curve of the globe, sphere Earth. The impossibility of this further proves Earth is actually flat, and water always flows downhill to what? Find its sea level. You can be in denial when you can't accept this fact and choose to believe that you live on a giant spinning sphere. Did you guys want to comment before I move on to the next river proof?
Yes, Ronnie.
Go ahead, please.
I really don't wish to be rude, but that meme is dumb. I mean, the difference between the mouth of the Nile from the source of the Nile could just be a couple of feet. It doesn't matter the length of it. The water is going to flow from the higher point to the lower point around a curve, because it's not going over a hump or anything. It's not running down the curve or trying to run up a curve. It's going around a curve.
Around a curve. That's what you say. Well, let's go on to a little bit more evidence to help you understand what I'm trying to say. How about the Suez Canal? Earth is definitely flat. It's a 120-mile long canal, right?
Yep.
Sea level waterway located in Egypt and connects the Mediterranean Sea with the Gulf of Suez with actual zero curvature allowance in its construction. And the next meme I have right here is an actual diagram of the elevation map showing that it's perfectly level for over 100 miles. And guess what? The kicker of this is, wait 1 second, Mr. Sensible, there are no lift locks in this dealing with the supposed, do you understand that that's 9,604 feet of curvature missing?
That's not curvature. It's the same level from one
You
end to
can't
the
tell
other.
me
As
that
it's
Earth is flat,
hold
but
on,
it has
hold
a curve
on. I
to it,
waited
but-
for you, Ronnie. I waited for you. Sorry, I've forgotten what I was saying. It's level from one end to the other. Therefore, it doesn't need locks to lift or lower boats.
You're
it's
saying
the same
curvel.
level.
You're using the word curvel, like curves are somehow level. No, it's absolutely flat, and you can see right here on the diagram of the elevation map that I have right here, there is no locks. And look, it even is scalable. This is actually an elevation map that you can measure. It goes from this section all the way to this section. Flat.
And what's the elevation at one end, Ronnie?
Sea level.
What's the
Sea
elevation?
level.
What's the
Sea
elevation
level.
at the other end, Ronnie?
Sea level. If there wasn't a
Yes.
sea level,
And the water,
have lift
It's
locks.
not going down. It's maintaining the same level.
and there's not a water hump.
And there's no humps.
No. What do you mean it's not? There is no.
There's no way you guys can deny or take this away. Let me do a couple more, and then I'm going to send it back to Jason. We got a bunch more here. Let's look at this. Let's look at another
No,
real
let's go back. So when it says
Okay.
level, as in like sea level,
sea level.
if we're on a curve, the sea level is going to be curved, right?
You're calling it curvel. Curvel. Not level. You're calling it curvel. Let's get this right, so everybody in the audience can understand you.
Because
Non-reality mind control trick that you're trying to pull. Curvel. Like
We're-
on a flat plane in a simulation reality like we teach, or curvel like it would be on a sphere.
So
We
that
wouldn't say
picture-
this for sea level, we would say it was sea curvel. Just get
Right.
the
So
terminology right.
if we're on a curval, say if we're on a curve
Okay.
L, whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't need any sea gates to go up and down like 1,000 miles.
Yes, you
right?
would. How do you know how the
Right.
properties of water work? They find their level, which is sea level. They don't flow up hills or down hills.
Ronnie,
if you can
what-
show
what
a
is-
diagram of a spinning sphere with water clung to it, or any experiment at all where you can show me water flowing upwards in elevation, show me Show
It's
me.
not flowing up.
Evaporation? Are we going to talk about being a gas? Let's stick
you
to
know
the
what
actual
elevation
picture
is,
on the
Ron?
screen right here. This is 100 miles with zero curvature, zero locks, and there's missing 9,604
Now,
feet of curvature.
It's showing zero changes in elevation.
Yes,
That's
that means
not-
that it's flat. Do you
Flat.
see a curve in this map? Do you see a curve? So you're telling me that when they designed this and built this, they measured to the center of the Earth and then they ran a string
No,
and they did
no,
a
you
pair-
don't need to.
What, no, what you're
need to.
suggesting is absolutely crazy because they actually use the water to level it because water
Yes.
always finds its level. Let's look at
Yes.
this picture. So if you're claiming that we live in a curveball, let's look at a real life experiment here. Someone's taken a mirror and they've shined a light on it and they've put a curve onto it because you say we live on a curveball. This is what it would look like. Look at this surface, which is flat, and which does the real life picture match for you guys? Does it look like we live on a curveball? Do you see a spotlight out here on the water, or do you see the light fully extending all the way to the observer?
I have no idea what I'm looking at right now.
Okay, I'll explain it again. At the top of this screen, we have a curved surface with a flashlight being shown onto it, shined. In this one, we have a flat surface with that same flashlight being shined onto it. And below, we actually have an observation of the sun pointing at an observer. What do you think this observation matches? Your curveball theory over here on the left? with a
Scale will
spot?
make a difference. But Ronnie, I cannot.
No,
believe
you cannot
don't-
talk about scale. We're showing you an actual observation of a picture taken of Earth. I'm not telling you to imagine how
Yes,
far.
but you're comparing it to two bits of glass, wet glass or whatever. But Ronnie, the big thing is what you're not grasping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there is a difference between elevation.
No, what you're
Yes,
not
yes,
grasping is it doesn't
because-
matter how big this curve is. If you shine a light on a curved surface, you get a spotlight effect.
No,
you
no,
can
you
model
don't,
this
Ronnie.
in any 3D modeling program. When you shine it on a flat surface, you have this. And you know what? Here, this is what you guys want to do. All the globe earther, Kabbalistic heliocentrics do is take you to thought experiments. All your proof is going to be in these squiggly lines. When what we're continuing to do and will continue to do forever is show you observable, repeatable, measurable evidences.
By
Jason,
ignoring
I'm gonna give you
the
the screen
actual
share back there.
evidence.
They're
By
just
not understanding
not
it.
responding correctly.
I mean, I can show you a picture of a curved, of a tank of water that has a curved surface. Have you ever heard of tow tanks?
We can go into all the stuff. We can put salt in the water and sugar
No,
and
no,
make
no,
the
no,
lights
no, no.
bounce.
I'm
So we
talking
can do
about
all
the
this. I want to
surface.
look at actual physical reality, observations
yes.
that we can all go
From a
out and do. That's what
university.
we said from the beginning, and we're going to be sticking to that forever.
Can I share a photo?
What do you need to share? Because I'm ready to keep moving.
You're on
Yeah,
to
I know,
perspective
but
now.
you like to, you
We
guys like
we
to
haven't
move
gotten a
past
chance
what
to
I'm
respond to what Ronnie had said yet, so we still need a
Okay.
chance to respond to what Ronnie said.
And make
Thank
sure you
you.
guys are super chatting over on TJump's channel. We want
Yes.
the good super chat questions. I'm really looking for. We still have what? Jason, you still got. We want to talk about what else do you want to talk about? Then we'll get to your responses. Jason, like give us a blow through. You wanted to go into perspective. You've got what else do you have? How
Wait,
far
wait,
we
wait,
can
no,
see?
we still need a chance to respond to the gibberish you just said.
I was
about
giving
light
you a
on
little
ball.
bit of time to come up with your response. I was talking to give you that time. But
Well,
if you're
we
ready,
already
go
had
ahead.
the
I'll
response
mute.
when you
Yeah,
said it,
can you
so
can
we
you see
were
that
already
image?
done.
Yes.
Can you see that image?
Well, so I just want to say that if I take a flashlight, put it on top of a basketball, it'll create a long line. It won't just scribble it
Oh,
dot.
yeah, you're taking it to a crazy, nonsensical straw man, non-reality. I showed you
No,
a
you
picture
said
of a
any ball.
surface
You said any
reflecting
ball.
light.
If I shine a light on any ball, will it create a
You
line?
can't zoom
Yes.
into a. You guys just taking it to nonsense realities. I showed you the
Well,
evidence.
you said that, Ronnie. You can see that picture of that tank of water, yeah?
I can see that. Yes.
Yeah, that's a tow tank. The construction that's across it is the gantry which runs on those rails. The tank is used to model ships, how they handle waves and so on. When that tank was built, it's at Southampton University. It's the Boldrewood tow tank. It's 138 metres long. Those rails have to be perfectly even height above the surface of the water. I know it's showing waves in it right now, but they let the water settle. Those rails are set so that they're the same height above the water, so it doesn't affect the gantry and affect all the readings. From one end to the other, there is a curve, a hump, in the middle of 0.6 millimeters over a length of 138 meters. All those red mountings had to be adjusted using a microscope and a pin touching the surface of the water. And as I said, it's a curve. That was measured against the water. That's the amount of curvature you get in a 138 meters long tank at the latitude of Southampton University. That's measured. There is curve, but the surface of the water is always level. The gantry,
Where did you measure the curve?
gan-
Where? What was the curve measured on again? Sorry.
The water.
They adjust the rails so at the top of the rail is the exact same distance above the water. Yeah, do you understand?
So we're making waves and we're measuring the distance flat.
No, Ronnie.
Oh,
No.
it's flat.
No.
Have a look at this. Forget the waves. There's the tank still, and there's a gantry running across. That gantry must not move up or down. Those rails must be the same distance above the surface. You see, they do have a wave machine for testing the models of the ships. That rail, or the rails on each side, have a curve of 0.6 millimeters over the length, because that's all the curvature is over 138 meters.
Not.
Taking it to a scale. But wait a second. Why is it then in your heliocentric model that the wave or hump of the Earth spinning would actually be larger than Mount Everest? How come nobody's ever filmed or viewed or observed this giant hump of curvature that would be demanded?
At the equator.
Let's spin your pool here 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and watch what happens to it. It's just nonsensical what you just tried to do there. You in no way showed me evidence that I lived on a sphere. Now, if you could show me evidence, if you could, we're going to get back to Jason's point, but if you could, like, maybe we'll do another podcast. You could come forth with evidence to prove the sphere Earth with curvature, with measurements of Earth's rotation and everything else. I would be really interested to hear your side of it. But today we're hearing Jason's side.
I have just shown a tank which is measurably having to conform, or the rails measurably have to conform to the curve of the water, which is conforming.
But no other
to the
bridge,
curve
railroad,
of the,
or anything ever built in construction
Tunnel.
had to take this into account. Drilling holes into the Earth, all these tunnels, none of them take this your demanded tank curvature into account.
Actually, they do. They just recently built new underground lines under the streets of London, and they had to be very careful to make sure they measured up, and they had to take the curve of the Earth into account. But what you're not understanding
Did they use water
about
to measure the curve of the Earth, though? Right? They're going to use a water level.
Ronnie, can we all talk too?
What you're not understanding about water level, Ronnie, is water sits at a level where it maintains the same gravitational equipotential.
So are we going to go to Cavendish's lead balls hanging in his shed for you to explain to me the weight and how gravity works? Or are you just going to make me want to believe that somehow water is being stuck? Do you know how heavy water is? I'm going to throw it back to you, Jay.
All right, so we're moving on to perspective now. I've got this video called The Mall Angel Debunks.
You mentioned the bulge around the Earth. What was the bulge thing? What bulge?
That would be...
Talking about the water should bulge outward due to the rotation of the Earth, as does the Earth. And it does, Ronnie. But that bulge isn't suddenly just at the equator. It starts at the north and south
Well, if
poles.
the Earth was spinning and the equator is its middle axis, yes, the mountain Everest of water would be at the equator.
Ronnie,
Just
let him
do a
finish.
test.
Ronnie, let him finish.
Yeah. If you had a model of the Earth as a beach ball about 1 meter across and squished it for to allow for the bulge, that's I forget, some 0.3 millimeter bulge. That bulge doesn't suddenly occur at the equator. It's a bulge starting from the pole, coming out to the equator and back again. It's 26 miles. 26 miles over the entire diameter of the Earth. It's minuscule.
All right, so moving on to perspective. This is one of the things that heliocentrists like to give flat earthers a hard time about. They ask about the ships going out and how that's not proof of curvature. Well, what we did is we set out to prove that that happens on a flat plane. So in this video, I actually paid a model to walk down a hallway in a mall where it was air-conditioned space on carpeting, and so all the environmental factors. There wasn't humidity. There wasn't any of these other types of defects. It's in a 2-story mall here in Austin that the mall is built flat. The mall is actually not curved. And we're builders. We understand how things are built flat. So here you were talking about elevation, Mr. Sensible. And here I am filming with the camera at the floor. And I also film with the camera up at eye height. And lo and behold, when the model...
Video, or is it just like a picture?
No, it's a video. And it was live streamed.
All right, and so what are we looking at?
You were looking at a model at the other end of the mall where...
White dress lady?
Yeah, it's going to...
What's the problem?
So just... She's disappearing. And she started...
She's disappearing with kind of the guy at the orange pants.
Nope. Just wait.
You're not screen sharing that specific link. You're
Oh,
actually
no.
sharing the OBS scene. It's fine. People can see.
Yeah,
what
we got
see.
what it was.
We're not trying to hide anything. We're all about
No,
coming
no.
out into the light. We don't
But
try
you
to
could
hide.
see a reflection of that woman.
But
You could see a reflection
yeah,
of
little
that.
Yeah.
interesting stuff starts to take place. Let's all tune in and pay really close attention to this.
Right?
See legs. Let's see orange.
So we
orange
don't need
pants.
the music, do we?
Nah.
I
Right.
didn't see anything. I saw
Just wait. Just wait. I just showed you the camera on the ground.
Well, show us the money shot.
All right.
camera on the ground.
That's what I was doing.
And look, you've got all sorts of
Mute the sound.
reflection.
Mute the sound. Mute the sound.
No, we don't need
Mute the sound. Yeah. What you're noticing is that you can't see her feet.
No,
can we
but
all
you can
agree on
see
that? Can we all
reflections
agree?
due to
Hang on.
density changes.
Do you, Mr. Sensible, agree that you
Yes,
cannot see her
the
feet?
bottom of her shoes. I
Okay,
agree.
thank you.
And the problem with that is what?
Perspective.
She's beyond the vanishing point from that elevation.
The camera has its own vanishing point, and she's about to cross back into it.
She's
Yeah, but you
And
can see reflections. That's due to.
We're not talking about the waves of reflections
but
that
it's
you're seeing. We're talking about
distortion. Can you not see
her.
it's distortion?
just wait. The camera doesn't.
You see ships and things on the horizon. You see this exact same distortion, as well
You
as
can see
obscuring.
distortion, but you can see some.
It
perfectly
matches
clear
reality
shots.
perfectly. You can go out and retest this. All you have to do is find a long enough hallway in a mall, and if you want, take a laser level there and make sure you verify that all these different spots are perfectly level. And what you'll see is once she crosses the camera's vanishing point, you do not see the feet, and she begins to be truncated from the bottom up until, if this was a large enough mall, you would cease to see her again, roughly around 3 miles out.
No,
proves that what?
things disappear from the bottom up on a plane due to perspective.
No, that's due to distortion. You could see the reflections. Well, that's what it is.
The camera is sitting on the floor level.
That's a clear shot there, but you can see the wheels of that buggy that are further away. It's not a
Yeah.
limit of the camera.
No, it's the limit of the camera's circle of sight, because it causes what we have in reality is a vanishing point, right? In all realities, in all video games, you'll have a vanishing point. Once something reaches that, you will not see it anymore as it continues away from you.
Yeah. You can actually see at the middle of the mall when she starts walking out of the haze and
Haze, exactly.
yeah. Look at
Sharing image.
the baseboard, and this is a black rubber baseboard that's typical in commercial buildings.
And all distorted.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are temperature variations. I know you said it's aircon and that. It may be little, but at that distance and at that angle, the instant pass of the rays of light is enough. to
You do
distort it.
understand that other people that don't believe in the same thing as you see this as actual physical evidence of how things are disappearing at the vanishing point. In reality, you guys can state whatever that you believe.
Yeah.
Your pre-programmed indoctrination bias, but people that are watching this, Mr. Sensible, are starting to understand that as a person or a car or a vehicle or anything else moves away from you, it crosses what is called a vanishing point. And this
Okay,
is the reason
can I
why
show-
we
Sorry,
see
go on.
ships and other things disappear from the bottom up. As we drive towards something like the CN Tower, you will begin to see the top of the tower first. And as you move closer, you will see further and further and further until you're within the complete circle of sight of the CN Tower. You will see the whole thing base to the top. And this is all repeatable, measurable, and observable on a flat plane. And, we're just talking about the floor of this reality. We actually want to take this into the luminaries and the heavenly understandings of things that we see in the sky, because most flat earthers, they just talk nonsense. They deny the observations. We also want to take it up a notch. This is just, we're completely explaining what Jason's is showing, the vanishing
you
point
want
and the...
to-
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want to take it up a notch, I have an image I'd like to explain.
Oh, and also just a quick question. Brenda asked, what is the circle of sight?
The distance that you can see into your vanishing point is your
Okay.
circle of sight. It
That's
travels
cool.
around you in a 360-degree perspective.
Well, may I show this image and then you can explain it?
Sure. Is it going to be, what is the perspective that Sly Sparkane and all them like to use, Jason, that you always laugh at, the non-reality perspective image, right?
Oh, there you go. There's an image.
Yes, this is a
If-
great
hold on.
example.
Yes, well, will you let me explain something? If that's due to your circle of sight
Yes.
hiding the hull, how come you can still see the rigging
So the
which
top
is the
of
same
the mast.
distance.
Hang on, let me.
Hold on. Which is the same distance away, but it's really, really narrow. Yet you can still see it.
So,
and no matter how much you zoom, you will not
yeah,
see that
you'll
hole.
never. Okay, the zooming in thing I'll touch on really quick before I answer you. Heliocentric model, and people that believe in NASA believe that you guys can zoom into the outer reaches of the universe. It's absolutely dog-do nonsense. We can only see what's in our 3 to 4 to 6 to 10 mile circle of sight. Jason's going to bring up the furthest sighted thing that we can see is 80 miles. The reason that you can see the mast top is because due to your elevation inside this three-dimensional virtual reality, that the floor of it actually is flat, the sea level is level. The mast, the higher in elevation you are, the larger of circle of sight you have, as well as you can be seen from. So the reason why you see the mast last is because as that ship continues to sail away from you, the vanishing point will continue to move up as the ship moves away. Nothing is moving up. The ship is moving beyond your vanishing point, and the top of the mast actually has the largest circle of sight. Therefore, it is seen for the largest amount of viewable time.
So what's actually
And all you would have to do, one more point, all you would have to do is rise in elevation, and what you would see is completely flatness from our perspective to the boat and further beyond. You could never zoom anything beyond your vanishing point ever. You guys can write this down, jot this into your mind. You cannot zoom something in once it's gone beyond your vanishing point. And I hope that everybody understands.
Well, hold on.
Brenda asked
May
a
I
follow-up question. She said, why can we see the wall that's behind the model? Because the wall is beyond the vanishing point. We can see like the rubber stuff that you're talking about, the rubber part
Black
of the
rubber.
bottom.
It's just all nonsense. The mast is the highest part. You see the mast last. It has the
No, we're talking
largest
about the
circle
mall.
of sight. Here's the diagram that Jason has on. It's explained.
One,
Yeah, but
there's
you're
a question about the
skipping
mall.
past, not
So
letting
it's-
us respond, Ronnie.
Go
I had a
ahead.
question about the mall. The mall, we could see the wall and the rubber goo on the bottom of the wall behind the model, right? That's behind the vanishing point, right?
Are you trying to state that you think that the mall is being curved up like a Lord Stephen Christ concave mall?
Well, you
No.
said we can't see her feet because
There is some distortion that happens at the horizon. Have you ever watched a car drive away into a sunset? You can see distortion everywhere.
Yeah,
What
but I
Jason
just
showed
showed
was
you.
her feet were truncated upwards due to the vanishing point.
I
You
just
said
showed
we
you.
could not see things past the vanishing point, but the
You
wall
cannot.
is behind the model.
Look, Jason raised his camera in elevation, and now on the left side, what you can see is her feet in full view, and the floor being completely flat, not concaved up like
Yes,
your nonsense
and
you just
what-
tried to
why
spin
is
it, and
that,
not
Ronnie?
curving down.
Ronnie,
Because
you
of the
changed-
vanishing
you-
point of the camera.
No, because the camera's the same camera. She stood, I presume, the
When
same
he
distance.
raised the camera in
difference is,
elevation, you
please,
have a
Ronnie,
larger
the
circle of
difference-
sight.
you
You're not
have a
understanding
different
what I'm
angle
saying.
so that the light is
No,
not
it's
being
not a different angle. He raised in elevation. He live
Am
streamed
I
the
wasting
whole
my
thing.
time here? I mean, I do want to talk
Ronnie,
to you guys,
shush.
but you have to let us respond as well. I mean, those two images, I presume she stood the same distance away. The only thing you've changed, and assume you haven't moved the camera nearer, is you've changed the angle. Therefore, the rays of light from her shoes travelling towards you are following a different path. They're not being bounced and reflected around. And with my image, which I showed you the ship, that was crystal clear. Two things. One, a flat Earth won't have a crystal clear horizon edge. And secondly, that's what is stopping you physically seeing the hull of that boat. If I lifted myself up,
I just explained to
if I lifted myself up 50 feet, I'm still looking the same distance virtually.
No. To your vanishing point gets much larger, and there is a slight drop in the angle to the relative vanishing point. That
It's
I explained. The higher in elevation you raise, the larger your circle of sight.
it's all in this video if you want to see it.
One question real quick. Why is she so much bigger in the right one and the left one?
Due to the angle of perspective, but we're explaining to you. Oh, do you think that somehow debunks that her feet are gone, and when he raises in elevation, you can see her feet because you've enlarged your circle of sight?
Well, it could
You
just be
think-
the camera.
You think that the waves? Okay, if you guys want to sit on that as your debunk, because it's wavy, you're totally
no.
missing the actual evidence, and that's fine. We knew that you were going to be a reality denier.
No,
Wall
can
is
I?
further away than she is.
No, can I explain?
Behind the circular.
Can anybody hear me?
Circular perspective, but we can still see the wall.
Can anybody hear me?
Explain it.
Yeah, I'm the one that made the video, right? Oh, thank you. I finally got to talk. So the camera is up on a tripod for the picture that's on the left. And this was from the footage, the position that she was standing in, the look that she had with that image on the wall right there. I loved that shot. And from the footage where the camera is on the floor, I chose another shot of her that I liked, and I put the two images side by side for us to compare. She's standing...
Zoom values or something?
No.
Then what, like Tom said, why is she bigger in that one?
Just cropped. Yeah, when I put the two images together.
But do you... So in the left portion, the camera's on top of your tripod, let's say, I don't know, 3.5, 4 foot high. So you have a certain angle between your camera and the floor. There's an angle to her feet, isn't there? However many degrees. Let's say it's 5 degrees. So the floor to her shoes, back up to the camera, is about 5 degrees. With the image on the right, your camera is on the floor. Let's say it's 1 degree. Yeah, that triangle is 1 degree now. So you've changed the path of the light. That light is getting refracted and bounced around. Snell's law. Density in the air.
What I've done is I've made the circle of sight smaller by putting the camera on the ground. That's the reason why her feet start to look like she's disappearing into nothingness as she's walking away halfway down the mall. Now the thing is there is a live stream of this entire thing that you can check. You can see the actual footage from the live stream. It's all available. And yeah, it's just, you can test this anywhere. Go to a large factory and have somebody walk away from you on a perfectly flat floor, and you're going to see them disappear from the bottom up on a perfectly flat plane. We're just pointing out that this is how perspective works on flat surfaces.
But no explanation of why that black line behind her feet, why it's all distorted on the rightmost image then. Why would it distort? It hasn't changed its distance away from you, so why is it distorted?
Because it's beyond... This is something that's beyond the circle of sight here, that there is a haze that happens right there. Now, I know that you want to look at some zoomed in footage of like the sun at the horizon. So we're outside of a building and you're talking about the reflection at different elevations. We're going to get to that kind of stuff. But I wanted to just bring this up. I feel like time-wise, we're sort of going to have to jump ahead on the...
Also, time's getting on for me because obviously we did have delays at the beginning, and I'm going to get on in a not too long a time.
All right, so let's be judicious with our time, and I want to show you some clouds behind the sun and stuff flying through the sun right now.
Best evidences your best evidence is to debunk the globe, or your best evidence is to show the Earth is flat.
There's too many. We've just begun.
I know, but unfortunately I've only got so long, so I'm asking, can you move on to your strongest?
Where he was going into the clouds behind the sun, go into the section that you were prepared to go into. There's obviously going to be some super chat questions, right, TJump, or are you not getting any?
Oh yeah, I got a few.
Okay, but Jason does want to go into the clouds behind the sun. I believe that's where he was going. You have to re-screen share the motion program. Our best proofs of the Earth being flat is the sea level itself. We've been showing you throughout the whole podcast how perspective works, how the different rotations and motions do debunk the heliocentric model. But we're not here to prove to you that the Earth is flat. We're here to show you that your heliocentric model, including the sky and everything else that you witness, is very wrong. And you were sold a lie by Kabbalistic mystics who didn't believe in what you think you believe in. And they did it so that you could become an... I don't know if both of you, if Mr. Sensible is an atheist.
What's the argument?
But Jason, continue. I was just talking while you got prepared.
Yeah, so this is some footage that Ronnie took. We were actually with friends, so you're going to hear some people talking in the background about what it is that we are filming here. Now, the thing that the reason why I have it in here is because I can put on an array of different filters where we can see this in a whole bunch of different ways. And so clouds behind the sun is a real thing that we've been proving for a long time. Take a look at this footage.
And here we go.
So this is just the raw footage without any sort of filters applied to it. Now, I'm going to add a little emboss filter. I'm going to add a little indent. I can adjust this.
So you're basically saying that sun is within the clouds, Jason?
Yep, that's what they're saying.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the emboss filter. What it's doing, Jason.
Well,
It's working on the imagery he recorded. but you'd have seen that with the naked eye too.
We
All
did.
you've got
We
is
did.
some bits in that still there at about the 5 o'clock position. You can see cloud in front of the sun
Oh.
because it's thicker cloud. Any cloud that hold on, any cloud that's
That is hilarious.
any cloud that's across the rest is obviously thinner, and so the sun is shining straight through it.
So you
This is
understand
not a
that thinner
difficult
clouds
concept.
the thinner clouds are showing up in the embossed filter that is applied here.
No, but
Nothing to do with the thickness of the clouds. It has to do with the perception of the depth of the clouds inside the shot.
we came prepared for you to make that claim. So let's keep
I mean, what would follow, if your claim was correct, what would follow is that sun is literally within the clouds.
Yes. Yes.
It has to be a few kilometres up.
No.
So your sun is within a couple of miles of the surface of the Earth, in which case, how can you see it across half of the Earth at the same time? This is ridiculous.
No, we've
Virtual reality, in the way that it works, is depending on your latitude and longitude, you'll have the sun in a certain angle at a certain time every day.
all right. So here's another piece of evidence. This has been
So I just want to jump in here. So if I take a bunch of pieces of tape and I put up here one piece of tape, one layer of tape over the entire. let's
Again,
say,
we're looking at
plane-
observations, T-Jump, and
Shush,
you're bringing up
Ronnie, shush,
nonsensical
shush,
thought experiments
shush,
again.
Shush. Get someone else's turn. Shush.
We're not getting
so if I
into-
take tape and put it over like a piece of glass, and I hold it up to the sun, and then put another piece of tape somewhere in the middle. That one piece of tape will be darker. Like it'll seem like the sun's coming through all of the top pieces of tape because they're light, the same consistency. But the bottom piece of tape that has two layers, it'll be darker, and so it'll seem as if the sun is behind the first one but in front of the second one because of the consistency of the brightness. But the more layers of tape you add, the darker it will be, even though the sun is still behind all of the pieces of tape. So I can generate that exact same image with tape
No, you
on a
can't.
piece of glass.
Continue, Jason. That's just
yeah. Now,
reality. You're just talking nonsense.
so
You
if I could only speak. All right. So I came prepared for you guys to say that it was the brightness of the sun. So we're going to take a look at some of this footage here. Now I can show it to you, original style like this first. This is the way you'll see it on YouTube. So notice this.
Here we go.
Oh, I got to turn off the audio in this other clip now.
Yeah, but Jason, we're not denying what it looks like.
No, we're
That's
That's
still there.
great.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
great.
it looks like. It's an optical illusion.
no.
Tell me that my observations are illusions, and you want me to go to his tape over your phone.
Oh, sorry, it was your
experiment and
it was your
nonsense over
film.
gallery.
Sorry, it was your film, Ronnie. Yeah.
This one here is from Flatter Photography. Mine was
Oh,
the
okay.
original. But what we
Okay.
want you to pay attention to is how the sun is literally slicing this cloud here. Show them how it comes out the other side of the sun.
Yeah. So did you?
Look at
Yes. Did you see it at the beginning? All right. Watch this cloud here.
the little tiny cloud that's not being obscured by the brightness of the sun.
Yeah.
The darker ones are definitely staying in front of. Watch how it splits like that. Jason's got.
All right. This is just without filters on it. We can add filters after this. I just want you to become familiar with it.
Watch how the backside comes out from behind there. You can go back a frame. You can see how it was split in half.
No. So if you have a really bright light and you shine it over something,
So why is it not blowing out the rest of the cloud?
Shush, Ronnie. So if you have a really bright light and you show it over something that has multiple different layers of density, the lower layers of density will disappear first and reappear first. This is not
We're
right.
looking at multiple densities. Some of the wispier clouds are behind the sun, you guys. Open your eyes. We're showing you that the sun is literally slicing that cloud. It's observable, repeatable, and you can go out and investigate this yourself. We have guys that have joined on, that have watched our programs, that have gone out and bought these tools. David Pack, he joined up due to Reality Check. You can get us on Telegram, and he's going out and he's verifying that clouds are definitely behind, in front of, and being sliced by the moon. And he's just somebody that showed up not even that long ago. So again, these are things that we
Ronnie,
want people to
Ronnie,
test.
Ronnie. So again, you can just Google creating art with tape and scalpel, and you can recreate this on a piece of glass.
Nick
It's the
West did
exact
it with a
same
film
thing.
strip, and he had to be taken down because.
Ronnie, wait. So you can create this exact same footage by just using layered tape on a piece of glass.
You know how retarded that sounds,
Ronnie,
T-Jump? You're
Ronnie,
talking nonsense. We're looking at an actual observable, repeatable evidence, and you're telling me you want me to put tape on my... You are sounding retarded, bro. I'm just going to be quiet. Go ahead, Jason.
So if you can create this same phenomenon on a single plane of glass, which you know the sun is behind all of the glass, so it can't be behind the tape.
You
on the
can't
glass. You
go
can
ahead and
prove
do it
this
and send me the
very
video, and we'll
easily.
come on stream and we'll look at your nonsense putting tape on glasses. We're looking at actual evidence. Like we said, we're going to show you real evidence.
Let's see if you can do this with tape here. All right. So now we're going to show something flying through the sun. All right. Let's see if you can.
Go on then.
Yes.
I'd like to see this.
So here, yes, finally. I gotta check a couple filters here. This.
Turn off all the filters.
Yes, I'm going to. I gotta move my camera so I can see where.
But just while he's fiddling with that, Ronnie, this business of the clouds is only.
It's not business.
Hold up, please do me the courtesy, please. There's only two possibilities. Either it's an optical illusion, as Tom and myself are saying, or that sun really is amongst the clouds. Those are the only two possibilities.
Yes. You got it.
In which case, if you're talking about the sun only being a few thousand feet high, right, then just geometrically, it cannot be dawn on one side of the earth, midday.
Well, the
No.
scriptures say, so the sun sets, so too he rises.
You're gonna have to.
Not throughout his circuit. And yes, everybody, I explained to you, I'll say it to you, Jason. The sun's rise and set angles are dependent on where you are, east or west, on our four squared rectangle.
You're gonna have to come back because we actually have it all modeled out already, showing the rise set angles within a person's circle of sight. We've got it to 100th of a degree per second. So this footage right here, a lot of people are familiar with this in flat Earth because it came from a popular fake flat earther and Shazwar Bugti. All right, so in the background here, you're going to see something come, a light come on. Just watch there. It comes through and it shoots out there. All right, all right. So I've got better footage of it than this, but I just wanted to show this because this had millions of views on it, and so the premise is that we get planes flying through the sun. So let me go to my footage of this quick.
Interacting with the luminary itself.
Did anyone on the plane notice the fact that they've
So
been...
great question. So what we have here is the same principle that is put into play with everything that's in the sky. All luminaries, rainbows, stars, sun and moon, all are fixed to your observable position. Depending on your elevation is how far or close the sun and moon are. So the person in the plane is 3 miles away from us and they see the sun 3 miles further from them. But from our vantage point inside the simulation / virtual reality is the better way to put it, this is how we observe it. And this is evidence that we're putting forward.
But
So
what
we
we've
had
got
a
is
super chat
exactly
specifically about this. Super chat from Andres Elf. Why have no airplanes crashed into the sun? Because it's in
I
the
just
clouds.
explained it. I just explained it for you. Get a pen, I'll say it again. So the plane, the sun, the moon, the stars, and you know how they say you'll never get to the end of a rainbow? It's because the rainbow is actually locked to your position equidistantly. The closer you move to the rainbow continues to move further away due to the
you know
fact
why,
that it's
Ronnie?
a subsolar
Then how
point.
is it in the clouds?
I know why. I'm teaching you the truth of it.
teaching us
So the
nothing.
person,
The reason the
but it's
rainbow
because
is
you're
to
not
move.
opening your brain enough. If the plane has a fixed position to the sun will continue to stay the fixed distance away from the plane. But what we're observing in the virtual reality is basically how it breaks down. These are clues that were left behind for us to investigate and discover.
So how is it in the clouds? Because if it's literally in the clouds, it can't be receding infinitely when you go to it.
at the same time.
All right.
Just explained it.
Can you guys
No.
see? Is anybody listening? Anybody listening? All right, we're going to take a look at an airplane that's coming in. This is footage that I got. I barely get it on the left side entering the sun, but I do pan up and we get to see it coming out real cleanly. And this is without the filters being applied. So you saw a little bit of a streak right there. Then I pan up and it comes out through the other side. Now, at this point right here, is there anybody that's going to deny that this plane is interacting with the sun?
Me.
Yes.
So you're going to say that you're going.
About 93 million miles away, of course, and very, very large.
So you're going to say that you don't see this right here.
Yes. No, what you can see is you can see the light reflecting on off the exhaust or contrail that the plane's leaving behind. The reason you couldn't see the plane when it was right in front of the sun is there's a bloody great light behind it, blinding you.
No, we're gonna prove you wrong right now. So we're gonna back it up.
If I take a mirror
It's
and I put it above the sun, retrospective, the sun will reflect off the mirror sheet and hit my eye and will appear brighter because more of the light is hitting the sheet and reflecting back.
It comes.
What does that even mean, T-Jump? What do you? I don't understand. It's not reality again. You're asking me to imagine some crazy thought. Please explain to me what you're trying to say.
The plane literally comes out through the disk of the sun. The other one did too.
Do flashlights reflect off of clouds? Can you point?
I don't think so. I don't think we could reflect. I don't know. I don't think so.
Flashlight?
Do you see the flashlight hitting the cloud? Like, do you see the light that hits the cloud?
I don't have a flashlight that can light up clouds.
Jaronism might have that one.
Mm.
Oh my god! Like really?
The one he used to prove the curvature of the Earth, right?
All right.
Flashlight experiment.
Pretty easy to
But
understand.
we are
kiddo.
showing you
Like,
guys things to really check out your reality. Don't you?
Like, you can point a flashlight at a cloud and it lights up, right? It illuminates the cloud. Light reflects.
I mean,
off
you
of
think
the
you
cloud.
bounced a photon off the moon, so I don't know. Do you have any evidence or data to back up that claim that you made with your debate with Jason, that you bounced a photon off the moon and you received a signal back?
Bounced a photon off the moon. You mean
Yeah, you
radio
said in
wave?
your debate that you bounced a photon off the moon. Correct
You
or
mean
incorrect?
radio waves? Like a photon.
Okay, so it was a radio
anybody
wave.
Can
Okay.
bounce photons off the moon. Point a laser at it. You bounce a
So
photon off the
it was
moon.
a radio wave, right?
Radio waves aren't photons.
I mean, I just,
Are
do you
they?
have
Yes, they
data
are.
or
Yeah, they
backup
are. They're waves of
science?
light,
Because
yeah.
most people will use that claim because they've seen it on Mythbusters. And I just wanted to see if you actually had the data to back up how long it took for your... Because if you actually had that data, it would probably give us a more local, real understanding of how far the moon actually is.
So
That was the point of the test. You can bounce ham radios off the moon. Yes, anybody can do that. You can do that.
Well, how
You'll
come
buy
you
one.
can bounce signals off of the stratosphere without... How's it getting through those Lorentz-type bounce systems and not coming back to you off of just bouncing off
By
of the
using a
atmosphere?
longer wavelength. Because if you have a longer wavelength, they don't bounce off the stratosphere.
Okay, you answered my question. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
all right. So here you can clearly see when something flies in front of the sun, right? It's very obvious. Now, this is somebody else's footage, and he gets a...
David Pack?
Yeah, it gets a whole bunch of... he must be near the airport. Here's one coming in right here. And boom, you see the interaction. There was two.
It's frozen.
No.
I'm seeing a still, Jason. Maybe unscreen share and rescreen share, because this is some great stuff. David Pack is new. We found him again on Reality Check Telegram. The link is in our chat. He showed up. He's got this great vantage point. Go ahead, Jason. Now we can see it.
All right, so he's near an airport. Obviously, he's got a bunch of planes flying through. One just went in here. Another one's going to come in right here. This one came out. This one came out. We're not done yet. We got...
Now we're just seeing a... It's hard to tell. We're seeing a Nikon P1000 Sunset Dallas, Texas link. Okay, there. We've seen it go into the sun there. I saw that.
Right.
Nope.
Same
It's
thing.
going to come out the right side. It's gone. For some reason, it's blurry. This is right from his own channel, Jason.
Mhm.
Blurry. But he's got some great footage.
This is not difficult. If you're stood, or if someone stands in front of a car headlight at night and it's on full beam, you're not really going to see anything, are you? It's just blinding.
But he's showing planes going in front of the sun and planes coming out from behind it.
Yes, we can
right?
reproduce this with car lights. That's what he's saying. If you stand
No,
in
you
front
can't
of, you walk in
reprodu-
front of a car light, you get the same phenomenon.
You can clearly see before the plane is even at the... look at this. You can clearly see it interacting right here, and then it'll fly through.
That plane's going behind the sun.
Well, or through it. Look at...
Well, if it was behind it, suddenly for them, travelling whichever direction, the sun's on the wrong side of the aircraft. You not think they'd notice that as well?
The sun is always projected at its azimuth and altitude and based on elevation. So the people inside this airplane would see the sun at the same heading, right, at the correct elevation, but out at their horizon.
So,
not
you're
really
saying
sure what that
we
means.
see the sun in front of the plane, but the plane sees the sun behind the plane, and because of magic.
No, we didn't say magic. Well, if you want to talk about magic, let's talk about the green flash. You guys know about the green flash?
Mr. Sensible has to know.
Yeah, it's only to do with the way lights bend in the last few seconds.
Lights bending.
Of cause
If you
like
get a fish
this.
tank and you put sugar in it and you shoot a laser,
Yeah, yeah,
Is this
yeah.
the thing from
that's
from
one thing you can do.
Pirates of the Caribbean? There's the ship at the end, the green flash that we're talking about.
Yeah, there's watch the bottom of the sun. So this is what we can actually achieve with our best optics right now. So the P1000 has 125x zoom. That's a 3000 yeah.
Not to argue your point, but I'd just like to point out the P1000 is not the ultimate in cameras.
No.
Or zoom.
No.
Not at all.
No.
It's the flat earther's camera choice, but that's about it. But carry on.
Well, it's a good choice because it actually has more zoom capability than most amateur telescopes, right? It's really not.
Tiny CCD.
Yes, and the bigger the telescope diameter, the better the aperture, the better the low light. I understand all that, but as far as zoom is concerned, this gives us, the poor man, the ability to get in to the horizon and see what's taking place there. And you can actually see it looks like some sort of energy merge right here. All sunrises and sunsets. Just wait. if you're going to call it, if you're going to call
Not just like a rainbow, which is a refraction of light. How is this not a problem?
All right, and so once again, the sun is not so strong that we can easily see things in front of it, right?
If you
So-
there a second, Jason, yeah, that's right. The sun doesn't appear so strong. It hasn't changed its brightness. It's just shining through an awful lot more atmosphere because it's just skimming over the top of the ball.
What? I don't see any
Thereby-
atmosphere there. What are you talking about? You're imagining
Don't
things
see any
again.
atmosphere.
No,
Where the
I
hell do
see
you think the
clearly.
clouds-
I see the hull. I see the
Clouds are
sunshade.
atmosphere,
I see the.
Ryan.
Yes,
Clouds
but
are
it's
atmosphere.
travelling through more of it.
You're gonna see on the zoom out.
Go ahead.
You're going to see on the zoom out the entire perspective. So the camera's auto exposure is what gives us this high contrast scene like this. But let's let this come on down and take a look at. This is a real sunset. It's not a David Weiss shrinking sun.
Where's the
stop it there.
reflection
Stop
now?
it there.
Where's the reflection? Where's your reflection now? Oh,
Where's
look, we
the
can
rest
still
of the
see that.
sun suddenly gone?
Where do you think it's gone, Mr. Sensible?
Well, the sun hasn't gone anywhere. What's happened is the Earth is in effect rotating away. from
Rotating
it.
away?
So
We're
the
falling
sun-
backwards
so
away
that-
from the sun?
You're not falling backwards.
That's what you just
But the-
stated.
Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait.
There it is.
Yeah.
So
Where
lovely,
did the
got
sun?
green
Where's the
flash.
sun going here? Where's it going? Why don't we see the sun curving around the backside of the Earth as you just stated? That we're falling
You
backwards,
are
staring
you
west.
are
We're
seeing
falling
the
back.
sun going behind the, excuse me, behind
Around the
curve,
curvature.
But you have got at that point just about the maximum amount of atmosphere you're looking at.
What?
You have changes in temperature, changes in density.
We see
you
a little
get
haze.
refraction, which is going to twist. It's going to make it look fuzzy.
And this is happening
But
above
where's
the
rest of it
refraction.
gone? The whole thing's the same distance away. And if that sun is only a couple miles up,
There it goes. That was awesome. Where did it go? Why is if it's 90 million miles away and it's a huge ball of light and gas and fire, how come it's not still shining around the curve of the Earth here?
All right.
that's why you can
It
still
is.
got day. That's why you still got daylight.
We've got a little compilation here at the end.
Nothing to do with the sun. Daylight and night were set before the
Daylight's
sun
got
was put
nothing to
into
do with the
creation. That's correct. Yes, you can see the daylight. Yes.
Wait, so
Jennifer.
what's the green flash? What about it? Why is it not just refraction like a rainbow? What's the problem?
You can see these flags on buoys out at the horizon right here. Right now there is the top flag on a buoy. There's another one over here, a flag on the buoy, and this is where the sun is sitting in a green flash above the horizon.
Which is evidence of what? What's the problem?
If it
Mirages.
Thing. Yes. What is a mirage if it's not?
Now you sound like the
by
fake
just-
flat earthers. Rob Skiba and Dick Hummer went to the Lake Michigan and tried to pretend that they were able to film Lake Michigan from the other side, Chicago. Mirages and refraction, yes, we see a bit of haze and blurriness at the horizon, but we're looking above that where the sun is actually disappearing until we don't know what. We're asking you what we're looking at.
yeah, no,
Well, how high is that camera? Roughly, do you know?
I don't.
Probably 6 feet above the
Okay.
ground. He's got it on a tripod, I assume.
So how far away was that sun? Because going back to your woman in the shopping mall, she apparently lost her feet at 150 yards.
That was due to the
and yet that
vanishing
sun
point
you
of the
can
camera.
see several miles away, apparently slowly disappearing. Anyway, I don't know why you guys are coming up with stuff with that. Why not just go up and have a look and see the shape?
Oh, you want us to go up in a rocket?
Yeah, we just covered the highest altitude that has ever taken place. So high altitude balloons can get you up to, they say, 273,000 feet, and the highest rocket was able to get up to just like 300,000 feet. That is the limitation, and everything beyond that's not real. So I had talked about pressure with TJump earlier, and we went through in our most recent hangout the debunks of satellites and space travel and all that stuff based on pressure, because there's no more air up at those altitudes. We showed how the reason why the high altitude balloons break is because there's no more air pressure. The balloon expands into the point that it pops.
It's very, very low.
It gets to zero at about 150,000 feet. Feet.
We lived in a pressurized pizza dome like Nathan Oakley. Don't be careful not to straw miss, because that's a
I
retarded
haven't
statement.
strawmanned you at all. I just agreed that as you go to a certain height, the pressure gets lower and lower and lower.
Nothing.
Until it's virtually zero. It's not quite zero, but it gets to virtually zero. Because even space wouldn't be zero.
Well, they say at 150,000 feet it's like 0.000016 psi, right?
Can I
so
show?
you're saying, I just want to clarify something real quick. So you're saying that things disappear at the vanishing point from the bottom up. That means that, and the higher they are, the further away the vanishing point is, right?
Yep.
So if a plane and the sun are both like far away, and that the sun is like going down the atmosphere, how could a plane pass behind the sun if it's a further away vanishing point, while the sun?
Vanishing point is perspective to the observer. That's what we explained. So the vanishing point of the person on the plane, the sun is still 3 miles away. But the vantage point from the person on the ground with the sun in the right position would put the plane interacting with the sun, and that's what we witnessed.
All right.
How far we can see?
I'm going to have to go very shortly. May I present rather neat evidence? This is an experiment that I did. I think I mentioned it when we met at the top of the stream, Jason.
Yeah, you can share.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to show you a photograph first and see what you make of. I'm not sure which one it's showing. What's that showing? Is it showing?
There's a black screen right now.
It's.
Double click. Oh no.
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah. So what can you see? You can see two lines and a curve on the horizon. Yeah. Is that what you can see? Whether you agree with it or not, is that what you can see?
Is this from a satellite?
This is from a
like 30,000 feet, right? So it's 35,000.
35,162 meters.
Mm-hmm.
About 200 meters, or actually about 400 meters. No, about 3,000 meters. Beg your pardon, lower than Felix Baumgartner. This shot.
But that wasn't real.
Yeah, that was screened, and he jumped into a foam ball pit.
Foam ball
Well,
pit.
let's leave Baumgartner out of it. I was just giving you an idea.
fake.
I've just given you an idea of the height. This is 35 kilometers high. Can you not see a curve there?
Yeah, the image itself has obviously been squished, and this is something that Red's Redder tried to do. He tried to take a picture of a flat horizon, and then he tried to squish it and show you,
Hold
look,
on.
measure up to the line.
Ronnie, what makes you think this is squished?
Well, right now we're only seeing the image itself is truncated. We're not seeing the complete fullness of the image. Well, I can tell you that right now.
Okay, let me just have a quick look, see what you're seeing to make sure.
Where did we get this? This is from NASA?
No, hold on. I'm just trying to have a look at the screen to see if I can see the whole.
live button. There you go, live.
Oh, well, it's still showing stuff about your son on mine. No, that is not.
Oh,
that
this
is not
the image?
NASA. Sorry.
The image is truncated. So you're basically proposing that this is you're showing us your evidence of curvature.
This is a picture from 35 kilometers showing curvature.
I don't think it's coming through right now. You might have to reshare it.
Yeah, something's truncated.
Okay, let's try that then. Can you share? Or do I have to stop share?
Yeah, stop and reshare.
Has that come through now?
No, it's still frozen.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
There
I'll
you go.
actually
Now you
stop
got the
it.
refresh.
Hopefully that's coming up.
Now it's
now
clear.
we can see it.
Yeah. So that is showing the curve of the Earth at a view of 35 kilometres. Okay. This, now you can see there's a grid over it with a curved line. That's the predicted curve, mathematically predicted curve, for a height of 39 kilometres. Now, this weather balloon did not quite reach that the height we wanted with regard to getting a good shot, able to see what was there to see. Now, you said it's squished. That is not squished. Those two lines here is still from the video. Just trying to-
Also, what you have is when a camera tilts up and down, up in the air, what we do have is sometimes concave Earth and sometimes sphere Earth. So you've just taken an image of, well, it was pointed at an angle away from the horizon, curving
Right.
into the lens
Right.
of the camera.
Okay. The answer is no, because there's three main types of lenses. You get fisheye lenses, which are the ones where people hold a selfie stick and it
Yeah.
looks like they're stood on a tiny ball. Forget that. You've got wide-angle lenses, which do distort like that. And as you move up and down, you'll get convex and concave.
And the good
Here's an
one?
here is an image of Mage. This is the
It's
weather
a
balloons.
rectilineated lens is the correct
Yes.
answer. You didn't give us that information. And if it was
No,
a
I didn't say
rectilineated,
that, but-
you will be the only person that has proof of curvature. And if people want to let the
Well,
cognitive
hold on,
dissonance
I'm
believe that
trying
you
to
just
present
showed
this.
the curve of...
I'm trying to present the evidence. That camera, you can see the white sort of bit of pipe in the middle. The camera is mounted just below that, pointing towards the left. On the left, you can see two strings. Those are taut, spring-loaded strings. So they are always straight. There they are across the image. So if the image got distorted by me through some dodgy purposes or dodgy method, the strings would be distorted. In fact, there is a very, very slight bowing downwards of the lower string because of barrel distortion, which you get even in a rectilinear lens. But the curve is going the other way. You don't get the convex or concave distortion across the middle of the lens.
You've thought it all but all with that graphic, huh? Jason, what do you think of this curvature Earth evidence? Is this repeatable, verifiable? Can I go out and test this myself, Mr.
course you
Sensible? And our
can.
audience, we've shared in the beginning of this that my premise was that you can go out and test everything that Jason...
Look, there is
So
me.
you're telling me...
What?
There is me launching. If my video kicks in, it's for some reason it's buffering a bit. But there is me.
So you conducted this experiment yourself. You have a
Yes, he
verified
built
other
it.
show me somebody else that is not connected to you with the same clip and the
Oh,
same
hold on.
experiment. Right?
There you
Let's
go.
see more.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know
Your
why.
balloon went 35 kilometers up, and you're touting this as proof of curvature of the Earth's rotativity
Well, here,
because of
here
these
is-
two tightening strings that you have
Hold
here.
on, look. Here are the three cameras. There's an upward-facing balloon camera, which is wide camera. There's a rear-facing wide camera, so you can see that gets distorted left, right, and centre. But on the main screen, that's the rectilinear lens with two spring-loaded strings. And in fact, we were talking about the balloon bursting. Have a look at this. This is a thing of beauty. That is
Yeah.
Nice
hydrogen
picture there.
balloon as it's bursting, and it bursts at the speed of sound. So yeah, I sent that up. I
Good
took
work.
that imagery.
Yeah, we just covered this topic, and yeah, great job. So the thing that I pay attention, what camera were you using for the rectilineated?
Yeah, it was a non-distorting camera. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but on my channel is the Mage video. All the cameras are listed.
Yeah. So what do you say is the natural view of a human? How many millimeter equivalent would you say?
I don't quite know what you mean.
So if you were nice.
Here it is, and I've definitely got buffering here. I'm getting internet problems. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my picture's frozen, but there's the two spring-loaded strings. There's the camera mounting was looking through it. So if that horizon's curve in between there, if I had got that curve by distorting it, then these strings would have been distorted as well.
You know how easy you can crop in, chroma key in 2 lines across the screen? Like, you know how easy it is? I could show you the ISS transiting the sun and the moon and the stars, and you would have no idea I could put the 2 strings there. You know how nonsensical. Okay, but hey, at least you did the balloon thing, and how were you able to track it? I find it amazing. Would I've done anything I've ever shot up into the sky, I lost. You know, did you have a tracker? But anyway,
we
Jason,
had
do you have more?
Let me tell you, we had 2 GPS trackers. They broadcast their location. High altitude balloon enthusiasts around the country track it, upload to a central server. We download, so we've got the current location. It travelled one direction for so many miles, back another direction for so many miles. It landed about 40 miles from the start point. Okay, the flight time was about 2 3/4 hours. Now, when we were at ground level, the only tracking station that could pick it up was us. When we were at the maximum height, it could be tracked from 400 miles away. We were seeing further and further around the curve.
I think
called the radio horizon.
I think it's great that you did the experiment. I find it fishy that you don't remember the camera, but you remember that the tinsel strength of the. But continue. Jason wants to go on to. Let's go on to the sun's locality again.
I bet you do. And you did just say.
You think that picture of somehow proves that the Earth is a curve, and I find that hilarious. So
it was there in front of your eyes. I filmed it with a video camera. You know, it wasn't the GoPro, or it might have been a GoPro, but it was one that did not have the wide-angle lens. Otherwise, the strings would have been distorted. They weren't. You can't have it both ways. Either the lens.
Yeah, you know what I said to your audience? If they want to allow cognitive dissonance, to allow them to believe they live on a sphere because of that one image that you just showed us, go ahead. Let's move on. Jason's got more.
I've got a full video, including a launch to landing, and I even leave the film running for about 30 minutes while it's upside down in a field until I pick it up. So you can see me let go of it. You can see it go up. You can see it seeing across 400 miles. You can see it come down. You see it land, and me walk up and pick it up. That's uncut video footage. You can deny what
NASA does a great job too of it. Jason's got some really interesting stuff.
Unfortunately, I'm not connected to NASA.
That's right.
I think I just want to bring up that was a really great point where he brought up the video. Ronnie said it was distorted, and then Mr. Sensible showed that there were literally 2 physical strings in front of the camera. So if it was distorted, the strings would have been distorted.
All you have to do is chroma
key
strings and paste them back on top of the.
But he did say it was.
He watch the actual video, Ronnie. You can see the strings. You can see as the thing turns around.
I understand.
You can see the shadows pass along the strings.
So in that very short distance, we were able to see that the bottom string did have a curve to it. You called it barrel distortion. So that right there is going to be amplified at a larger distance. If we're seeing that much,
it's the opposite direction. Thank you.
Which happens depending on the angle of the balloon. Why don't you have? Okay, do you have full video footage of that happening constantly? That same sphere, or did you just take a screenshot? But we need to move on to something more interesting.
Yes, the full video. The full video is available.
Yes, 2.5
and we'll look at it. And if people want to take their cognitive dissonance and believe that they live on a sphere because of your experiment, go right ahead. But the rest of our presentation is debunk everything.
Holding an opinion or having an idea of how something is okay, but just saying "nut up" in the face of evidence is not okay.
Your evidence is very circumstantial. We're going to continue on to more actual, repeatable, observable things that we can all do. I don't need to have a Vatican telescope, or you don't even remember what kind of camera. You're admitting that there was distortion in
and
the
nobody has been able to debunk it.
all right. So here we have some footage of a sun in a scene with what some people call chemtrails, right? And then we have the shadows behind.
Now, not to argue what you're talking about, just let you know, after this one, I'm going to have to go.
All right.
And I would like to carry this on some other time.
And I'll make sure to watch the rest of your video.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So just to let you know then, Ronnie, I've got 2 channels, Mr. Boldly Sensible Cats and Mr. Sensible Live. That video is on both. It's called Mage What Shape Is It?
Your teammate, Conspiracy Cats, donated his channel to you? Is that why it's called Cats?
He did, actually, yes.
Wow, that's good. I can't believe I knew that. Here we go.
All right. So here we have a scene with the sun, and we have these chemtrail-y looking things, and then a shadow on the clouds behind that. So if you, this is footage where it pans around. So this shadow, the shadows always point to the location of the light source, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That isn't. I'll give you that. That's a more interesting picture than the airplanes flying through the sun or airplanes in clouds. That's more interesting.
Well, there's so many different ways that we can actually show and prove this, but it's hard when there's all these opposing opinions and we don't get the opportunity to actually go through all the evidence and analyze it. But so what we're doing right now is just showing the things that show the locality of the sun. Right? In this case, we know. Here's one example of it. I'll show you another example. It's all over the place, where the shadows are locating the sun in a person's circle of sight, where the shadows are being cast up on the bottom of clouds. We see this all over the place, and
Look,
here.
The sun is just about to drop below the horizon. So yeah, the shadows cast upwards.
The wrong way. Let's go back here.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Your
Because the shadows being cast backwards from this X right here from the sun, the shadows being cast backwards on the wall, making the sun local in the circle of sight right here.
If the sun was 90 million miles away, you could never have the shadow on that side of the chemtrail.
Yes, you can.
No,
You say that, but go ahead and prove it, right?
What you two guys need to do is you need to go to your local hardware store and see if they stock any Ds, because you're going to need 3 of them.
I don't know what that means.
tell us the 3Ds. I know you want to.
Yeah, 3-dimensional. You're finding it difficult to envisage things in 3D. That's
I build things in 3D. I am a builder that uses 3D modeling to sell my work. I 3D model all of it. I know how I see things 3-dimensionally that other people can't even comprehend. I can look at a plan that's on 2-dimensional sheets, and I can visualize the entire thing 3D. I can tell you which light's going to cast at what time of the year just in my head. I understand 3D, and because I understand 3D, I understand that the sun is in front of this cross right here because the shadow is being cast behind it.
Well, there's actually, so this is a well-known phenomenon. You can actually do with contrail shadows, how they're formed.
You got the Snopes? Tell us what Snopes says, please. Tell everybody in the audience what Snopes says. How do they debunk this? It's a debunk nonsense tour. I'm just being funny. But really what we're looking at is the locality of the sun. The shadows are showing its anti-position,
Much.
pointing towards it.
So the
One, shadows reflect, or light reflects off of clouds, remember? So you can actually create a shadow by having light reflect off of the cloud, hit the chemtrail thing, and
The shadow's above the cloud, though. The sun must be below this, and if the sun was 90 million miles away, it would never be below this plane, ever. It's impossible.
Plane, cloud. Cloud here, plane is here, chemtrail is here, chemtrail.
And where's your sun in your heliocentric model? 90 million miles
More
away.
clouds. More clouds here.
If we were to do it scale, if you were saying where the clouds were, the sun would have to be in England, away from you, TJump, if you're in Dallas. We're trying to make a scale of what you're trying to draw in your worldview.
Have you noticed these pictures with the shadows supposedly in the wrong place? The sun is always approaching the horizon.
Because it's
So
lower
its
than the
light is
plane at
shining
that
like
moment,
that.
yes. You've noticed a great observation that is absolutely what's taking place right there.
now answer this one because
I have to go, I'm afraid, guys.
no.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
You've got an echo. I don't know what happened there.
All right. So here's
the video I took. As you can see,
here's one more example. This Matt Long, he had a P900. He's filming out, and the sun is actually coming up through the cloud layer before the horizon, and
No. The horizon is where that line is.
Yeah, you don't see
The
that.
partial disc.
no, this
Mr. Sensible.
this is the horizon. Yes, the horizon's back here. Just wait.
I know it's hard to understand, but we said you were going to be reality deniers. It's fine. We're just trying to broaden your horizons.
You can clearly see when he zooms back in that the sun is in front of the horizon. That in and out move.
Now we've got the sun coming out of the sea. It's going through the clouds, dunking itself in the sea.
It's just clouds.
Yeah, we've got all the footage. We can show it coming up out of the ground. This is popular footage that a lot of people know.
This one actually debunks Eric Dubay, because Dubay teaches that the flat Earth is a pressurized dome and that the sun is always 3,000 miles up. What Jason was showing here is that the sun is actually local and goes way below the clouds. Those clouds aren't 3,000 miles high.
Okay, no, that's a brilliant shot, and I can never remember where to get that from. That shows you that if you've got the Earth, you've got your plane up here, the sun's here, shining up from underneath the clouds. You have just busted the flat Earth.
No. This is actually predicted in the flat Earth that we share. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'd like to know how the path of the light can travel to come up.
You're gonna have to watch the video. You're gonna have to come back.
Rises from the east, sets in the west, right?
Guys, I am going to have to leave now. I'm going to say thank you very much, Ronnie and Jason, for hosting, because it has been fun. And thank you, Tom, for being my, allowing me to be your team tag mate today. Really appreciate
Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Guys, I'll try and watch the rest later. If you are going to do a part 2, I'd be up for that too.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining. And
So, if I could just give a final shout out.
yes.
To myself. As I said earlier, I've got 2 channels. Mr. Baldy Sensible Cats with a Z, which is where I've got
Videos, Mr Sensible Live, where I've got some of my older videos, and I've got live streams and things like that. Please check out my Mage video, where there's several versions of the video.
There's one where it's edited down to 45 minutes that explains everything and shows the results, but there is also an uncut film from both the balloon camera and an uncut film from launch to landing from the other cameras as well. And I would like people to come back to me and try and debunk it. I really would, because several people have tried, and only one person, I'm going to shout out to him, Brian's Logic, came up with one problem with it. The temperature readings were a couple of degrees too high, which I acknowledge. But other than that, no one's managed to debunk it. So I'm going to say thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for all the viewers. Good night.
All right, TJump, do you have any questions that you would like to go through?
We got 8 questions, super chats.
I have some more memes to run through real quick while he gets the super chats and
Memes are
questions.
great. Memes are great for
Let me show a couple, Jay, can we?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'll take the screen share, I'll show a couple more memes here before we move on to the super chats. So these ones are pretty good. I don't know who believes in the wrong screen share.
I'm still
Oh,
trying
that's
to
your
leave
porn
here.
God.
Screen share the. Is it that one? Screen share again? Yeah, my final cut. So check this out. Do you guys know or believe in the dinosaurs? Did you know that Sir Richard Owen, who created the term dinosaur, wanted to prove evolution to be true? He knew that many in the scientific community embraced that same goal as him, so he was broke, desperate to succeed, and after his invention of the, quote, dinosaur in 1842, amazingly, the first dinosaur discovery happened in 1858. Did you know that this is where your dinosaur story comes from, Tigo?
I don't believe that's true. No.
I'm just reading to you from the evidence. Moving on here, this is what atheists be like. This is
First
my
dinosaur was
grandfather.
First dinosaur was discovered in 1677 by Robert Klopp.
Oh, so this is all incorrect, you're telling me?
Yes, your meme is not factually correct. Surprising, I know. You know, like all facts on the internet are true, but meme's not.
Okay, so we'll do the back check, and we'll you send me who you think it was and your evidence that
Robert
he was the first one.
Plot, E-L-O-T, is credited with discovering the first dinosaur bone.
Okay, the first dinosaur bone, before the theory and term of dinosaur was even invented. Okay, good
Right,
one.
so you
Moving on here,
things
this is
like appendicitis. People died from appendicitis before it had the name appendicitis, because
sure.
things
Okay.
can happen before we name them.
Yeah, they found some big bones. So this one says atheists be like, this is my grandfather, right? I don't know how you guys believe it. And for anybody that needs to know, you need to hear this. Cartoons are not scientific evidence. This is not real, what you're seeing on the screen. Due to copyright and violations of certain things, I won't say what this is. This is a cartoon. This is a cartoon.
So we actually, just to verify, we have actual pictures of COVID vaccine providers. We have.
We don't.
pictures.
Ooh.
We're gonna get censored now, like the
Oh, no,
guy. Did you know that
I discuss COVID all the time, so it doesn't normally happen.
scientism, 90 degrees times 4 equals 360, so a 360 is a square, right? Here, let's go into your actual globe Earth proofs that your partner there should have brought up. There's a curve, but you're never going to see it. There's a spin, but hey, you're never going to feel it.
One sec. There is a curve, and you will see it at 35,000 feet.
Oh, yeah, right. Your one friend who's got his... forgot the camera that he was going to use, and not only that showed us distortion, but there's a spin, but
there
hey,
is
you're
a
never going to
spin,
feel it.
and you will feel it, or I don't know if we can feel it, but we can see it with the Foucault pendulum, so we can see it.
Foucault pendulum is assisted by electric. They don't just perpetually move forever, T-Jump. That's retarded. What?
So Foucault pendulums
go
use
back
a magnet in order to
a magnet, right? They have to be plugged
but
in.
not all of them have that. You can build them without.
So they're perpetual motion machines that you're telling me. The first perpetual motion machine is not a Foucault pendulum.
Take turn. So in the industrial Foucault pendulums at museums, they use an electric magnet to keep it moving because obviously it would lose momentum and stop moving if they didn't.
Yes.
But you can just remove those and they still work fine. So
Until they stop moving.
Until they stop.
And depending on which direction you started off, the Foucault pendulum is one of the stupidest things. If someone super chatted that, I'm sorry they wasted their money. There's a space, but hey, you're never going to go to it. There's a force, but hey, you're never going to be.
Been there. There's
Never going to be able to measure it. What, Freemasons?
We can measure gravity.
Right?
So
Your Freemasons went to space. Right. Here, before you attempt to insult flat earthers, understand that math and science disprove curvature and motion. Right? Get that into your pipes and smoke it. What other ones didn't we show? So at what point does your gravity curving water hoax take place? At what scale does this boat here then go over a giant hump of water as proclaimed? You tell me. The horizon, that's our vanishing point. This one here, the first rule of spacewalk, Jason knows it, do not piss in the pool if you haven't seen this. We can do a few more here. Check this out. T-Jump for your audience. Here, for your audience who might never seen this. So the claim is that we live on a heliocentric spinning Earth, and the reason why that was born was because a Kabbalistic mystic person infiltrated into the Jesuitical order, and they brought forth this idea to worship the creation. So all heliocentrists that believe they're atheists are actually studying under the highest level of mystical Kabbalism that was ever created. The psyop of the claim is that we live on a pizza dome.
Religious people can get things right occasionally, right? That's the thing. Like Hindus predicted the age of the Earth.
If they say anything more than 6,000, they're wrong.
They're wrong.
So,
right?
Yeah.
you can believe things religious people said without actually believing the religion? Because like Newton was Christian.
No. He was from the Vatican. He was from the Vatican.
That's a great person that you bring up.
He was a Kabbalist. He was a...
The Society of Jesus. He invented the name Jesuits. And he was a
Jehovah.
Pythagorean Kabbalist who hated women and forged gold. That came up with your thought experiment that now people have. Yeah, he was a
Succeeded in the
yes, and he was also a heavy faggot Pythagorean heliocentrist. That's where your whole atheistic religion came from, was from deep mystical Kabbalism.
I think
And it's...
confused with people can have beliefs and get things right. And you can believe right things without believing the beliefs. So they're not the same.
And he still was only a geocentrist. He was not a heliocentrist at all. It's not until the 1850s that heliocentrism really got any sort of movement at all.
This one might trigger your audience.
It's irrelevant.
This one here, all these things here, we got a periscope, lighthouse, gyroscope, and a sundial.
I have to go pretty soon too, so you gotta move the super chat.
All right.
These things can work on a globe. I'll stop sharing. Let's go to the super chats.
All right. Super Squid Hunk asks, how do they dispute the LIGO experiments proving the existence of gravitational waves?
The LIGO one where they faked the experiment and ran a test on their whole entire company that you can go and read. They faked the actual data to run a test. Is that what you're using? Whoever super chatted that, get your money back.
Two of
Yeah,
them
they
confirmed
actually
sales
psyoped
results.
their own employees. They came out and told the whole thing in LIGO. We've studied it all.
I believe the reputation is the reputation is
I'll let Jason talk.
Yvonne asked, if water can't curve, what's a meniscus?
A meniscus? What does that have to do with the curving of water? That has to do with densities and types of skins that are taken.
No, meniscus is the thin layer that wraps up around the edges. So it takes water at scale. Anytime you're dealing with a super fine amount, you can actually get a capillary action that will take water back uphill, right? So that meniscus right there is a thin film. You can actually get rid of it by adjusting its alkalinity, I believe. So
You know, it's like We asked for the real proof that 321 million cubic miles of water curves around a giant sphere, and you're going to come at me with a meniscus. You're going to show me this and say that we live on a giant sphere. You know how retarded that is, T-Jump? You're retarded, whoever put the chat. Explain to me the 320 million cubic miles of water curving on a giant spinning ball, and you're going to show me a raindrop. Next question.
Raindrop? What? That's not
What? Move on, bro. You got time. You only have so much time. Let's get
the next place is gravity. Gravity is why the water.
Gravity. Okay.
But all the butterflies and helium balloons, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
And
not
that's,
affected by the 320 million cubic miles of water that
we can.
by gravity, but a firefly can just simply float up into the air.
The water can be clung to a ball like this, but the butterflies can float around. Then
If you shaped water in the shape of like a wing, you could make it fly. Sure.
Moving on, do you know how heavy water is? What's the net? Do you got more super chats?
Heavy water, as in like the kind that's radioactive, is still water.
no, 8 pounds per gallon.
A pail, bro. Do you work? Do you build things? Have you ever carried a pail of water?
5.
Heavier than water is, planes can fly.
Planes do deal with lift and propulsion systems.
Right.
To fly.
So if you shaped water in the shape of a plane, it could fly. Yes.
It floats in clouds right now, right? Trillions of pounds floating water.
Clouds are also
with
water.
dust particles accumulating in the middle of
Why
the
does the
atmosphere.
vanishing point only exist on the horizon? Why does it not exist in the sky when planes fly away from it?
We showed the vanishing point from a woman walking down a hallway in a mall, so it's not in the sky.
What? No.
The horizon. Why is there never one above things above you, like birds or planes?
Yeah, because you'll see that at the distance of the plane that's coming in on the horizon, it'll actually come in above the horizon because of its elevation. Now, if it's a low-flying airplane, it'll show up at the horizon in your circle of sight. But if it's flying real high, it will actually just appear from being so small that you can't see it to now being visible. It'll fly across in your circle of sight, and then it'll disappear before getting to the horizon again. That's what we all witness.
Go up and disappear if it's going up. Why do you still always see it?
I don't understand the question. If it's
Trying to explain why we see the belly of the plane and not the back of it as it flies around the curve.
point is if something gets far enough away, some distance away from you, it starts to disappear, right? But it only disappears if it's like on the ground. If it's in the air, it goes farther away. You said like the vanishing point increases the higher the thing is or something.
yeah, it'll actually disappear up in the sky. You just got to watch planes come in and out of your circle of sight.
Show me some of those. I want to see a plane going straight up and disappear.
Not straight up. It's flying horizontally through your circle of sight, but because it's traveling at its 20, 30, 40,000 feet, you won't be able to see the plane at the horizon, and you'll see it appear in the air. Everybody witnesses it. That just go film.
That's my question. Why is the vanishing point so much further away in the sky? Like it's infinite the higher you go.
Because it increases your circle of sight. Yeah, the diameter of your circle of sight increases with elevation. The higher you go, the larger the circle of sight.
And the larger vantage point you can be seen from on the flat plane. It works both ways. The higher you go, the more you're able to be seen from. And that still despotizes and breaks down around 10 to, Jason was going to show what the record was it close to 80 miles?
Yeah, 80 miles is really the record distance that we have for any ground-based observation. So if you're on the ground and you're filming something else that's part of Earth, we do have 80 miles being the record. That's from a rest stop on I-90 where you can see both Mount Adams and Mount Rainier. And if anybody can come up with something longer distance than that, please let us know. We'll research it, check it out. There's some fake flat earth disinformation out there that suggests being able to see 200 miles, 300 miles, and then people will go crazy and bring in Jay Tolan Media and say we can see 1,500 miles. And all this is bullshit.
Billions of miles. You can see stars.
No, you can't.
We've already established
Yeah, we
anything in beyond the vanishing point.
Yeah, we could have gone.
Your own teammate stated that we can zoom the hull of the boat back in, right?
Remember, vanishing point gets longer the higher up it is, right? So if there's something directly above you, it doesn't matter how far away it is, Your vanishing point can
So
be-
then why is it that when we went up in our balloon-borne experiment on our last podcast on Sunday dealing with satellites and planes, why is it that we didn't see any of the stars when we got up into the sky? When you go to a certain elevation, why do the stars all disappear? Jump?
Wait,
After
what-
40,000
what is this?
feet,
The
there are
stars
no...
disappeared at night? When did
There
this
are...
happen?
When you go in a plane, stars disappear at 40,000, lower than 40,000 feet. They're completely gone. Go ahead and verify it. Test me, prove me right.
Do stars disappear when you in a plane?
At nighttime, at a high elevation, they do. Jason's...
Yeah, just you'll find. You, no, you'll find.
I think that there were no stars in any of the pictures from the supposed moon landing, T-Jump. There are no pictures of the stars from the supposed moon landing.
At
Bad quality photos. Didn't have a camera. Probably couldn't pick up the light. Likely.
no, at 30,000 feet at night, if you are above the clouds, you're not going to see the stars, even if there's no clouds below you. But once you're into that range, and you can do the Google search. Why can't I see the stars out the airplane window?
Pictures from a plane at 40,000 feet that I was in with stars. Like
Look, that's show it. Show us.
I flew on a trip to I was paid to be a speaker and went into a plane and then it went up.
Maybe you were 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
Girlfriend's trip to
Might have been lower than what you think you were. Because we've all experienced it. I've been up high and there was no stars. Jason's been up high and there's no stars. So you're not going to tell us that you're the only person in the realm that's ever captured stars from this elevation.
Well, I
It's
think
impossible.
like you guys are the only people who haven't. That's more likely.
That's retarded, bro. Do the Google search.
I can find it. Oh, next question is, if we had a flat plane that was angled up into the sky and we drove a car up, are they suggesting that the car would disappear from the bottom as it goes further away? It seems like that shouldn't be too far of an experiment.
That's impossible. It's one of the most retarded things. You want us to create a completely vertical road, the car would just slide
Not
down it.
perfectly. Oh my God! It doesn't matter if it's perfectly vertical. Any vertical direction up will work.
If you have a flat plane, you have a circle of sight that has a vanishing point on it, depending on the height of your observing either camera or eye position. So no matter what plane the flat plane is angled at, you will still lose the object depending on the distance to the vanishing point.
So that means, because the question was, is if we built a big ramp and drove a car up it, would the vanishing point imply that it would disappear from the tires first? That was the question.
Jason, what do you think? I'll turn it to you.
I'm not even paying attention to that. I was just preparing to show everybody what the largest telephoto lens of all time. All right, you can look this up. This is the Canon.
Meteor shower at 40,000 feet. Some point.
You understand that in order to take pictures of the sky at night, it takes long exposure, right? It has a very long exposure. So if there's any movement whatsoever, it's just going to be a brrr, right?
No.
Yes. Yes. Have you ever taken any photography of stars?
No, have you ever filmed the
Garbage,
star
you don't
trails?
actually do that, 'cause
T-Jump, have you ever filmed the star trails? Or taken a picture of the night sky?
yes,
Were
many
you
times.
stationary?
Any vibration, even too much wind, will end up in blurred results.
Just wrong. Here is a picture from a plane window of stars outside of a plane at 40,000 feet.
No, it's CGI. I've already gone through all the YouTube stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
Listen, you cannot. If you can take a picture while walking through your backyard, take a picture of the stars.
The question was is, if there's a ramp going up into the sky and there's a car driving up it, would the vanishing point imply that the car is going to disappear from the tires first?
Everything disappears from the bottom up at a distance. Yes.
Correct.
So your answer is yes.
Yeah.
Why are the legs reflected in the photo of the girl?
Because she was beyond the vanishing point, and she was disappearing into the vanishing point. That's that glossy layer where you saw the haze or whatever. That is where the person disappears into. Eventually, if they can go far enough away, they will completely disappear into that haze.
Now it says haze and humidity causing refraction.
air conditioned space. It was we chose the location so that nobody could say that it was humidity and things like that.
Humidity exists in air-conditioned spaces too. Heat, cold temperature differences, cold falls, heat rises. Turing test. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the rolls. You're welcome. Could you please share the details of the flat Earth model and maps, perhaps, from the Turing test?
Yeah, we can, but you know what? That actually sounds like it would be best suited for our next conversation, where we actually go through the model that works. Because we.
Do you have like a quick picture you can show people?
Sure.
And you are screen sharing again the OBS screen and all that, but it doesn't matter as long as people can see the other.
I clicked on the right one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't mind. It's trying to hide kind of thing. Are you trying to find the picture of the map?
Yeah, it's right here. So I can actually even. It's too bad Mr. Sensible's not here, because this actually shows day traveling over the face of Earth. So this is a stereographic map that has 2 polar points, and the yellow lines are the tropics, the red's the equator, and what I have is circles of sight that show sunrise through sunset. And so if I hit play on this, is it at this section? So I actually put it into, here it is. Come on. All right, so here is.
Suggesting this is an accurate flat Earth map. This is it.
Yeah, and it's also your sphere Earth map too. It wraps to a ball. This is the same map you need.
Well, see, the thing is every single latitude and longitude is mapped perfectly here.
Right, there's 2 paths to like Antarctica at very different locations.
It's split. There's 2 polar locations, and Antarctica is split east and west. Have you ever seen a map of Antarctica where they split it east and west?
So I'd have to. There's no way I could walk from one of those to the other.
Sure you could.
No, absolutely. You got to watch the video. It's all explained in it.
Yeah, the easy way to explain it is we live in a continuous closed system. To answer the great science question, if there's dragons beyond the horizon, I just took the liberty of just helping George Smoot and the rest of science out. We actually do have definitive proof that we live inside of a contained, closed, continuous system.
So there's no way to get from the left side to the right side?
No.
Walk across it.
Yeah. Fly, swim, walk across.
You can arbitrarily move the borderline anywhere on the map. It doesn't matter. It's a contained, continuous system in all directions.
So like you would, if you cross the right side, you teleport to the left side? Is that what you're saying?
There's no teleporting. Like I said, you can move the imaginary boundary. We've set the map up like this.
You've acted
understand the landmass.
You've acted like you understand video games and computers, but now all of a sudden you're sounding confused.
In a video game and computer, you teleport from one zone to the other zone.
Sure.
So you're saying that
we're in a stereographic virtual reality.
There's no teleporting. No Einstein Rosenberg nonsense. We're in a closed, continuous system where you can move in any direction and come back upon the original starting point. But there is no else to go outwards outside of this realm, this map that we're showing. This is it. North to south, east to west, it's continuous. There's no looping, because when you get to this edge of the map, you're simply just moving to the next side of the map. Every kid that did a grade 3 studies that learned how things would navigate from one side of a flat map to the other understands this. You'd have to be brain dead to not understand the concept.
So if I have a flat piece of paper, right, and there's a left corner and a right corner, what mechanism teleports me from the left corner to the right corner if I walk off the edge? How does this work?
Stereographic virtual reality. Do you understand how video games like
No.
What?
He said computer magic.
Do you understand the principle of how you go from one side of a map in a video game to another?
Yes.
Now, if you're in a stereographic virtual reality, you understand. Good job.
TJump, you got it. And the fact that we're able to model it and we put it in games like Atari, Asteroids was one of the first, helps prove the point. You don't have, in your debate with conversation with Jason, you pointed out that some of your games are spherical. Yeah, and then you zoom in on a flat map that has a circle of sight that you can see. Most maps you have to engage into that other section of the map for the light to turn on. You understand all these concepts. I know you do.
I was just trying to understand. So you think that there's a computer teleportation system that...
No, you just made that nonsense up. I explained to you that it's a continuous closed system, so therefore there is nothing else than what you can see. But you can travel in any direction and come back upon your start point. Now, we haven't circumnavigated the Earth north to south, nor do we have any evidence of it. But east to west, yes, we have, including the sun and the moon and all the stars. They do that every night, depending on where you are in the realm.
Super Squid Hunk asks, is there a way to calculate the vanishing points? How far away does something have to go before you start seeing the bottom disappear? Can they provide a calculation?
So it's something that you got to test because it's going to be dependent on the instrument that you're using. So whatever camera, whatever focal length, that's all going to play a part. So what you can do is just test things. You can measure out distances, see at what distance it starts to disappear for that tool. When it comes to the curve calculator, as far as how far we're supposed to be able to see it, it is relatively accurate from what I've been able to see that at the elevations, if you type in that you're 1,000 feet in the air, the distance to the horizon calculator will give you a pretty close approximation of what you're going to be able to actually go out and see and witness.
Because they had to back engineer what they called curvature with an actual observable evidence.
No, we're asking about your circle of vision number that's made up by you.
It's not
No, I'm using right off of the internet distance. Yeah, distance to the horizon calculator.
Well, no, because you're saying that things go up and they're also affected by this circle.
Everything that goes up comes down.
Yeah.
So you're saying this circle of vision thingy, when things go up into like straight up, like let's say a spaceship that would go into space or something. Let's hypothetically say there was such a thing. You're saying because of this circle of vision thingy that you think exists, the spaceship would disappear from the bottom up.
So now you're asking a hypothetical: if a spaceship was to take off and go straight up, it would actually be lost due to its totality of the way that it gets smaller. We can only see things from... How far do you think you can see a school bus? How far can you see a school bus, TJump?
This is what the questions were asking.
Like half a mile.
It does the circle of totality thingy that you're talking about affect objects going up the same way they affect objects on the horizon where they disappear from the bottom up? That's the car.
They don't disappear from the bottom up. If an object was to fly directly above you, straight up, it would disappear due to the shrinkage of its totality and size. You can only see a school bus drive away so far without the so-called vanishing point in the way that we observe perspective. Your hypothetical is imagining that we could see forever when objects get a lot smaller as they move away from us.
Yeah,
that's the question. That's the question. Is would you be able to see the object disappearing from the bottom up if it was going?
No, absolutely not. You need a flat horizon and a plain Earth with an actual circle of sight vanishing point to actually measure what we actually measure in reality.
Right, that was the question. The question is why is there the vanishing point only at the horizon and not up?
It will go out of your circle of sight if it goes up too high too. Anybody that's let a high altitude balloon go up will know that it went out of their circle of sight. That's when they couldn't see it anymore, right? Going straight up.
And you're saying that that thing will disappear from the bottom up as well?
No, it'll diminish in totality to the point where it's just not visible anymore. The horizon is the obstructor, the bottom up. So something going away from you on ground, on water, right? That will disappear from the bottom up as you're going away. But something just straight above you will diminish in totality because there's no horizon to block it out.
Okay, so the horizon is the thing that causes things to disappear from the bottom up, and it doesn't apply to the sky stuff.
No, there's no horizon in the sky. It's a vast open expanse. As it says
That
in
was
Genesis.
the question. That was what people were asking.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that's it for the super chat. Thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ready to close it out whenever you are.
All right, sounds good.
Super chats.
We're not monetized. We do all this for free. Yeah.
Passion project.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks again. Do this again sometime.
All right.
Yeah. Mr. Sensible was talking about you chatting with Fight the Flat Earth. That would be interesting.
Too gross. Too gross.
Well, he was trying to say, Mr. Sensible, Jason, that Fight the Flat Earth, maybe he's not like that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Treat us with respect, he was saying. So I don't know. We'll talk. We'll see what goes on. Maybe if by popular demand, right? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll sit out the
I
next
can-
one. I feel like I did a lot of talking. So I'm good.
Well, I can moderate. And be fair.
I can self-moderate. We just, yeah, we.
Him. That's your concern is him, right?
Yeah.
Be happy to moderate so you make sure you don't get equal time.
Yeah. Well, as long as we're not under somebody else's thumb, if we've got the live stream, yeah, anybody can act ridiculous, and we can just let them go if they can't behave, right? Yeah. But thank you. And so maybe we'll have the opportunity to go through the stereographic virtual reality explained. So far today, what we've done is we've debunked heliocentrism. We've shown people their small circle of sight, and that the sun, moon, and stars are actually operating within your circle of sight. And it's been great. Thank you, TJump.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best evidence today was presented by Mr. Sensible and his camera that actually went up into 35,000.
The one he didn't know which camera it was? Well, good luck with that.
The camera, like, I don't think you have to memorize literally the camera.
Okay, move on.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for joining.